Welcome councillors and members of the public and staff present in person and joining online and watching online this evening. The time being 6:30 p.m., I declare the Strategy and Policy Committee of 14th April 2026 open. The meeting will be conducted under the provisions of the Local Government Act 1993 and Council adopted Code of Meeting Practice. Specific persons in the gallery are advised they may not record the proceedings of the meeting of a council or committee without the authorization of the council or the committee. Mobile phones must be turned off to silent or as not to disturb the meeting. Using mobile phones to record the meeting, whether audio or visual, is not permitted. This meeting is live streamed and a recording will be made available on Council website to allow the community to follow Council debates and decisions. Members of the public attending agree to have their image, voice and personal information including name and addresses recorded and publicly broadcasted. Strathfield Council does not accept liability for any defamatory remarks or inappropriate comments that are made during the course of the meeting. Any part of the meeting that is held in closed session will not be streamed. Councillors, I would like to remind you of your obligation to faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, authority and discretions vested under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of your ability and judgment. As a chair, I will call you to order should there be need to do so. Moment of reflection. I would now like to ask everyone to stand who are able to stand for the moment of reflection. We pray that our deliberations today will be objective and decisions are impartial and made for the benefit of the whole community. Recognition of traditional custodians. Let us begin by acknowledging the Wongal people, the traditional custodians of the land on which this meeting is being held. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Thank you. You may resume your seats. We'll go to apologies and absence of leave. Councillor Benjamin Kai has requested an absence of leave and I would move it. Yeah. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Blackmore. Does anybody want to debate or vote for it? Okay. Now I put the motion to the vote. Those in favor, please raise your hands. Carried out unanimous. The reason that Councillors, please be advised that Councillor Pennsylvania has written to the General Manager speaking to joining the meeting this evening via audio-visual link and has sought to do so due to significant health reasons in compliance with Clause 5.22 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Clause 5.20 outlines that councillors may attend and participate in the meetings of the council and committees of the council by audio-visual link with the approval of the council or the relevant committee should the councillors be unable to attend in person due to a natural disaster extending or other circumstances or significant health issues. Councillor, I therefore move a motion Motion to approve the attendance of Councillor Pennsylvania via audio video visual link for this strategy and practice meeting of 14th April 2026. I move that. May I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Nosworthy. Now I put the motion to the vote. Does anybody want to debate or vote? May I see the hands, everybody in favor? Unanimous. I declare the motion carried unanimous. Declaration of interest. Does any councillor wish to make any disclosure of interest? Councillor Blackmore.
Yeah, non-pecuniary, non-significant for PE1. I'm employed and work in the town centre. I know through the community also a number of the landowners and business owners in the town centre. My conflict is non-pecuniary. I believe my knowledge and connection to the community makes it actually easier for me to make an informed decision and the right decision for our community on this matter. So I'll be staying in the room for the vote.
Is there any other councillor would like to make a... Councillor Kim?
Same as Matthew, I have several home shop owners. I know them, but it's a non-significant, non-pecuniary declaration.
Is it for the P1?
Yeah, P1
as well? We'll move to confirmation of minutes for Strategy and Policy Committee of 10th March 2026. I move the motion. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Baladi. Do we have any discussions on the meeting? I now put the motion to the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Carried out unanimous. Reports to the Council. Councillors, you are reminded that the Strategy and Policy Committee terms of reference allow for the discussion to each matter prior to the debate and voting on the recommendations for the matter. I will introduce each item, invite the relevant staff officer to present and supply information, and then provide an opportunity for councillors to ask any questions. Councillors, we have our first report. Customer CCS1, Customer Timeout Policy and Procedure, page 12 in your agenda. I would like Christy Watts, Director for Corporate and Community, to present to the Council.
Good evening, councillors. I've got my laptop with me, so it'll help me answer any questions you might have. So this evening we've put forward the customer timeout policy and procedure. I do have a set of slides with me that go through the actual policy and procedure. I thought I might put it to you. Would you prefer I just go through the concerns that were raised, or would you like to unpack those together this evening? I've listed them in the paper based on our last discussion. So we talked about this a few months ago, and there was a resolution to bring it back to a workshop, appreciating we now talk through matters at our committee.
So yeah, I could just go through the concerns.
So the paper outlines the concerns that were raised when we first brought the policy and procedure to council. The first being around in the way in which a timeout could be applied. So there's quite a stringent process behind a timeout actually being able to occur, and a number of steps that would need to be taken in order for a timeout to apply. And a timeout would typically be provided where there was escalating behaviour. So I've given some examples in the paper that are actual things that have happened in the last few months. We've had an incident where a staff member was threatened on premise by a customer who wasn't happy about a particular outcome of a matter. It wasn't something we were able to adjust for them. There was legislation attached to the request, and we'd been through a number of conversations and processes with that customer to help them understand why we couldn't do what they were asking. That then escalated with a threat to the officer on the floor, very close range. And so in that instance, we did discuss the matter with the police, and it escalated further with the same customer then waiting for that officer at the car park gates. So in that instance, a timeout that's the kind of instance we would apply a timeout. And in that particular matter, the police and other legal processes intervened. So there was a double outcome for that. Now that customer, and as per the policy we put forward to you and the procedure we would follow, can still access services at council, and they can do that through phone, or they're actually doing that through their solicitor at the moment. So it's not about discontinuing service completely. That wouldn't be the goal. It's trying to find that balance for how do we protect staff, how do we protect you. You may find yourselves in a very similar situation. You're on the street all the time, you're at events. How do we make sure that we do make our standards really clear on what behaviour we expect? It's not for the customer who might swear off the cuff one time and get upset, which happens. It's more that escalated behaviour where we really just can't control the outcome and we need to make the environment safe. We had another incident at the library where a gentleman who I believe was under the influence did come and physically assault two senior customers. My team did a great job in enacting the process to contact the police. We wouldn't have staff intervene in that situation, but it did result in those two customers being hospitalised for a short period to be looked after. I'm not sure what happened to the other individual. The police did take them, but that individual in that instance would be given a timeout for a period of time and would not be able to access library services. So that is a matter where it's a little bit different in that we wouldn't have them back in the library for a period of time and we'd review that. It's not forever, but just sending that message that that's obviously not okay. So that you can get those kind of situations. The situations are far few in between. In my time, in the last 3 years, I can count on both hands the amount of times that happens. We see similar things with the rangers from time to time, being chased down the street and things like that. It's more that quite threatening behaviour, and that's what this policy is made to address, while still ensuring we can offer service as best as possible, but doing that to protect our staff, yourselves and our community if we have to put that at the forefront. Yes?
Just to clarify, the policy also applies to services like the library?
Yes.
Yep. And then on top of that, in terms of their access to customer service via the phone, it's essentially anonymous up until the issue is brought up. I mean, they're not blocked, so technically anyone can call and be told how to deal with a particular issue. How do you police it then at the door, customer service?
So the incident, the first incident that I spoke about, that individual did try to return. In those instances, a senior officer would attend and I'd go, if it's me that's around or another director, we'd go down and have a chat to them. And in that instance, the police are contacted in the meantime. So the staff are instructed to contact the police on those quite extreme situations. But one of us would go down and, like, this particular individual there was a discussion had with him, I could say, look, I'm really sorry, the police have been called. We had an incident last time. Let's go outside, and maybe this is where we offered maybe the solicitor can call and try and work through matters just to make it easier for everyone. But there was other things that were put in place for that individual outside of council's control as well. So they were in breach of that.
Like my thing is about it, like what's the purpose, like what does it achieve by having a policy rather than like most organisations would just use common sense in the matter? Like how does that benefit council to have a policy like this?
Good question, because there is legislation that supports the ability to do this, and the New South Wales Ombudsman core principles support this as well. So matters like this could be sent as a complaint to the Ombudsman, and if we follow the process that we've put in this policy, they would absolutely say, yes, you've followed the right things. I think ideally communicating the expectation to the community, though, creates an opportunity for us to set that expectation up front. Whilst these incidents are far few in between, if these things come up, it makes it easier for our staff to actually relay the policy at the time, and say, look, this could lead to this, can we, let's take a break, maybe come back tomorrow, and leave the customer with this. It could, in some cases, actually de-escalate some issues. And if customers who have a timeout applied want to dispute that, the policy then strengthens our position because we have communicated to the community that we have this in place.
There is no clear advice how we are going to tell the customer that he's banned for like 6 months or 1 year. If somewhere you could add that we serve a document saying that you have been banned for next 6 months to come physically, but you can communicate through emails and phone from your ban will end on this particular day, 30th of December or something. If you could serve a document, it will be evidence for our filing purpose as well as even the customer will have it.
Yes, Councillor, so the procedure does outline steps for that. It's not attached to tonight's paper, but we can certainly place that on exhibition. And that it gives a guideline. Obviously, every situation has its own things attached to it, but it would give a guideline on how it might be handled, and then they do receive a letter from the relevant director that gives the timeout and the instructions that are associated with it. But happy to add that to this if that helps as well.
Can I ask you? Stand up.
No one else did. We changed the rules. We did last time. Yeah.
To help our better understanding of this incident and to decide a better resolution, just can I ask you the main reason of the dispute?
The main reason of the dispute?
Yes.
In which one?
Incident, 2 cases of incident, one in library and one here. So the incident, the main reason of the incident, escalating. The human life is escalating, can happen everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But this is banning for our customer, our resident. We have to decide the right way. So to better understanding, I want to know the main reason of the dispute.
So the library issue arose, I believe, because the individual was under the influence of something and rode, it was either a scooter or a bike. It was something they rode through the library and nearly knocked out the senior citizens.
In the car park?
No, inside the library, in the building. So you know where the art gallery is? When you're walking through that main foyer, they rode through and they became a danger to the customers. So the team began to address that and the individual hopped off and then started to physically assault 2 senior members who were just there reading books.
When you say senior members, you mean?
Senior community members,
right.
Residents,
yeah.
senior citizens. So they weren't really in a position to fend it off either, nor should anyone be, but it would have been a lot harder for them. So it was an unfortunate set of events. And that happens, yes, everywhere from time to time. The matter in relation to the officer who was threatened by someone in the community was in relation to a planning matter, and they disagreed with the outcome.
I guess I have two issues with this. The first is to do with the practical nature of the policy, which is, you know, as you mentioned, it's very rare that these things do happen, and this is sort of trying to react in a particular way to when they do occur. I guess the issue there is that in the rare case that they do occur, you've got a policy set up to prevent them happening again, is kind of the approach. But the likelihood of that happening is, I would say, limited, particularly in the case like at the library. If someone's come in under the influence, the best that we can say this will do is act as a deterrent for bad behaviour, essentially. But the case there is that if you're going to assault someone in the library, the deterrent is already the law. And so you're not going to be stopped in the first place, and the law will prevent you in the future. So this is sort of additional kind of ramifications for something that's got clear guidelines, legally speaking, already.
Yes.
There are already legal outcomes that can be applied. And I guess the second point is that I just take serious issue with banning anyone from, you know, council premises on the advice of staff. Not on the advice of staff, but based on, you know, theoretically, it could be something rather limited that a staff could use to ban someone from our premises. And I think that I don't like the power it gives council as government to tell people where they can and can't go on public land, or what public resources they can and can't use. I mean, if you're a ratepayer and, you know, just to use an extreme example, you look at a member of staff the wrong way and they put a report in, and let's say this is applied, you're really hard done by, and I don't think there's anything necessarily stopping that from occurring. So not to paint the most awful of examples, but it could be used against residents unfairly. And I think those two things, the kind of practical nature of it not really doing much, practically speaking, to prevent certain types of incidents, and on the other hand, what it does in terms of public access to public assets, I think it limits my ability to...
So the procedure is quite high level, and again, I've given you the extremities of the examples where it would even be considered, and they are rare. There is in the procedure the opportunity for people to appeal through the general manager if they don't. Let's say it's my team, and it's the gentleman who comes into the customer service centre and something escalates beyond to that point. And so I'm the decision maker in that situation, in the procedure. The team cannot provide a timeout without me. And I'd be quite frugal in the way that would be applied, and the procedure sets out what that might look like. So it doesn't necessarily time out someone from everything. It might be they go through a process where it might just be a couple of days. Like, let's just cool down, that's the first step. Let's just take a break, let's come back to it in a few days, maybe I get involved in the next conversation. It's not, threats are different, but if it's escalating behaviour, like swearing or getting angry, then that's the first step. It's not to just aim to dismiss someone, and nor can staff dismiss someone in that situation. That's not the aim of the policy. We will get people that, you know, may present a certain way, or the tone might come off a certain way, or whatever it is. It is genuinely just for the more critical situations. And our teams have been trained to take that approach in the first instance in any case. If somebody wanted to apply a timeout per the procedure, it has to, if it's my team or Kathy's team, it actually has to come to us. And we'd go through, have you given them a few days to cool off? Like, what does that look like? What are the issues? Obviously, if they physically assaulted someone, my team will call the police anyway. They're not going to wait to have a conversation with me. But in lesser than issues, certainly the goal would be to resolve, not to put a timeout on everyone.
Yeah. I guess my point there is more that it really does have the ability to be weaponised. That's the difficulty I see. I'm not casting aspersions and making presumptions about what people's intentions might be, but I'm, in 10 years' time, no one in this room is still here, hopefully, it could be the situation that the policy is abused by someone, and I think when creating a policy, we have to take those sorts of considerations in. So that's where my opposition would come from.
I think the other thing we need to think about in terms of this is for yourselves, but also for staff and the community, because the community can be impacted, is the safety piece. And certainly from, if I just go to workers' compensation as an example, these are the sort of questions I'd get asked if there was an incident. Let's say it was a staff member that was physically assaulted. That's where there is potential for safe work and things to come in and go, what do you actually have in place? And potential for fines. I don't want to scaremonger, but it's trying to find that balance, as I said.
Just on that point though, wouldn't a policy where approaching the relevant authorities in those circumstances is a better approach? Like to adopt a policy where, I'm sure we have something along those lines already, but to say, if these things happen, we call the police, we have an internal report, evidence is provided, blah, 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 we do our internal investigation. Do we not have those sorts of policies?
We do have those in place, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the police will then put something in place. They may, but then what happens if Joe Bloggs does X and the police see it differently? And I had a recent example with the Rangers where there was an incident with a driver on the street who chased them down and basically ran them off the road. And they contacted the police, as they're meant to do, and that was nothing was done with that. And I'm not giving the police a hard time, they've got a lot going on. There will be grey incidents where the police say, look, we've moved people on, but it might still leave us in a position where we go, well, hang on, how are we managing our workplace or our community space, just to make sure there's a bit of time out. It's not meant to be forever, or some space in how we deal with this, if it's a big escalating issue. That's the part where, until something does happen, the rare thing does happen, we can't answer because every situation's different. So I can't always make the assumption that the police will then follow through. The examples I've given, obviously, that they're more extreme end, but I've had other issues where customers have made, just say it, like sexual comments of sexual nature to staff, and it's been one-on-one, and the staff member's not comfortable to then have police, like you've got to work through all of that process with staff, and I'm not suggesting that person would have got a full time out, but there would have been some space that was needed to work out that scenario.
Thank you, Christy.
Time's
Councillor
up.
Pennsylvania, would you like to add or comment something?
Yes, I think two things. First of all, having a policy outlines something that we're all in the same boat on. We're all on the same page, and we all have the same agreement. We agree to have the same procedure to happen in each case, so everyone knows exactly what to do. So I think it's important to have a policy and procedure. Plus, it also says to our staff, to have something like this is that we take their safety as an extremely important thing, that we don't underestimate what it's like to deal with the public. I've been dealing with the public for the whole of my life, and I know exactly what customer service and what other people have to do when they deal with the public, and this shows them that we think that their safety is extremely important. So to have a policy and procedure in place is, I think, a very good thing for our council, and I believe we should go ahead with it.
Councillor Bellardi.
I would echo what Councillor Pennsylvania said. I fully agree that having a policy is very important, and I think that staff ought to know that we do have their back. I just think the way we do that is very important, and I would struggle to see this as the best path forward because of the reasons I've outlined. So I think it's really important that we do this right, rather than run into something that may cause problems down the line. So.
Councillor Kim.
The individuals and the incident like this is very common in our human life. Escalating is not only one side, escalating always comes both sides. So we have to decide very important things for this as resident. The council is not a superior power organization. We are servicing customer. We are serving for the resident. So in this spirit, we have to think about very carefully and prudently. How often these things in a yearly happens in our council. You say now you have 2 samples, 2 incidents in the library and here in council, but how often do you have this kind of incident in yearly?
About 2 a year, councillor.
You have 2 years, 2 cases, right? And staff members also needed to be trained to treat or to face the customers, because this escalating is, even in our home life, couples like very lovely relationship between man and woman, but when we have an escalating, the conversation makes us escalating and frustrated. If we banning our resident because of this incident, 2 years twice of this incident, we make this kind of policy, maybe the customer was very frustrated and escalated, but later he calmed down, he will reflect himself. But very urgent things, he has to need our help. But he is banned. We are deciding very serious and important things wrongly. You understand what I mean?
So I think I can help.
We have to be carefully. I want to ask you, other councils have applied this kind of policy?
Yes. So
which councils have this kind of
This policy exists at a number of councils. We actually look to the City of Sydney for ours, just given the size of it and how they manage it. But a number of other councils do have the same policy.
City of cities, Sydney is much bigger and lots of various people. They may need it, but Strasbourg Council is a very small council, and our residents are on this area as ordinary people, not very special criminals and very top people.
Regular.
I would also...
We councillor think about carefully.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. I would like to add my comment as well. I've seen many government organizations, including banks, you behave bad, you will be banned. They'll cancel your account. Just go tomorrow to ANZ or Commonwealth, misbehave. They have the authority to spot cancel your accounts and ban you forever. You go to any hospital, the first sticker you see before the triage is respect our staff. You misbehave in a Woolies can ban you. We are running a government organization. We are not banning everybody. We are banning only the person who is misbehaving and who is threatening the staff, and that too for a limited time. So I don't see why we need to think over it. How we can improvise, yes, but definitely I'll be supporting it for the safety of staff and to set the safety for the other residents who are using our facilities. I'll be supporting it. Is there anybody else would like to comment?
I'll make one more comment, sorry. Just
Councillor Blackmore?
You go first, sir.
No, Councillor, I really understand what you're saying. Those organisations, people actually have a choice to not do business or do business with those organisations. Residents don't have any opportunity to time out our council or our staff if they're not happy with the service we're delivering or the outcome that they're getting. So it's a very, very one-sided policy. It's us against the residents, which is not the sort of look that I think this council should have. So I won't be supporting it.
That's right.
Yeah, I think Councillor Reddy made a good point. It is temporary. It is, cool off, take a day, come back and have another conversation. There's other ways they can access our services. I think maybe the best example in terms of practicalities is the customer service one, you know, abusive threats, whatever. That's a space where maybe it's good to go, hey, our policy says you're not allowed to be here anymore. You may come back in a week or a day and access the service. The library one obviously is going to be dealt with the police. I think maybe the customer service one to a lesser degree is, and then we've got no kind of backup for staff safety in that situation. So I think there are situations where the behaviour is bad, but not bad enough to go to the police, that maybe goes, hey, don't come to council, get a representative, email, find another way, and then we'll review again when the timeout's over.
But if a circumstance is not bad enough to go to police, or if police are unwilling to get involved because of the nature of the issue, who is counsel then to become the law?
The safety of our staff, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is fine, but we're also a government service,
Yeah,
right?
but
We have WHCs.
There are policies that exist, and like I said, we can do something along these lines, but I don't think a timeout is the solution to protect staff.
Can we have other alternative way? Warning the
That's what JP's suggesting.
Guys, you need to think of the other people who are using the service as well. There could be 4 people in the customer service and one person starts hitting the other one.
No one is doing the wrong thing, I'm sorry. He's going to read this policy, go on the website, read this policy, and say, oh, I'm not going to do the wrong thing anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything.
It's not going to deter people.
Gives you though that same approach that we're all on the same page. So if let's say someone was given a timeout and we take the policy forward and they come to Councillor Blackmore and say, look, this happened, you'll be very familiar with the process, and if you want to escalate that through the General Manager, you can, that's in the procedure. So that can occur, but you'll be very familiar with it. It won't be foreign to you. You're not on the back end of trying to deal with something that you don't understand. In reality, from a Workplace Health and Safety Act perspective, if it wasn't enough to call the police, but I was concerned for my customer service staff, I would ask the person to leave anyway.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like I have to. And I might go out and have a chat to them and try and calm it down.
And in those circumstances,
Like,
you can call the
I'm not going to
police,
just send them down the street, but if they become if it's too hard for me and I can't get them there, I would just say, look, can you just go home and come back tomorrow? Like, let's try again tomorrow.
But can't that be the policy?
It's in the procedure that way.
I think it is a policy.
That's part of the procedure.
It will be escalated to a full ban.
Time out
Kept
for the
happening,
end
then
of
you
the
might
day,
have to
it's
go
all
down
right.
that path.
Yeah.
Usually the person will come back
Week
tomorrow,
is suspension,
fine,
no.
because they realise and they've had that time to reflect.
Well, make a change, Councillor.
99% of the time, that's what will happen. But if we're all on the same page for when it's not 99% of the time, it just helps everybody.
Do you have a warning that, let's say, we not tolerate your abusement and this is in written there?
Not currently.
You put there.
Yeah.
I mean, these cases are rare enough that those things aren't going to stop
Yeah.
people. I mean, people will be
But
arrested.
who had a very rough and a very, who had this kind of incident, will come back to the same way, you think? They will not do the same way.
Well, normally they calm down, yeah.
No, they come down.
Yeah.
They don't do that. Why do we have to apply this for?
Every action need a reaction, and there should be
Days to hear back.
everybody have to be accountable for their own actions. Councillors, now I put the motion to the vote.
Sorry, Madam Chair, can we just adjust just based on the council's feedback tonight, we will attach the procedure to exhibition as well.
Okay,
Just so we just make sure we capture that in your recommendation.
so policy and procedure.
Yeah, so policy and procedure.
All good, councillors. Now I put the motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Councillor Pennsylvania, Councillor Nausworthy and Councillor Reddy. All against, please raise your hands. Councillor Blackmore, Councillor Beladi and Councillor Kim. As a chair, I have the casting vote and I would vote in favour of it. And now I declare the motion carried.
So you want to do 1 4 weeks suspension, you already?
The most common will be till the end of the day.
Home of the day, that's all.
Councillor Kim? Councillor Kim? Councillor Kim? Can we not have a cross-bench conversations, please?
So we're just trying to see whether you have that power in this committee to have a discussion.
Now we'll move to CCS2, review grants policy and standards.
Thank
I would like Christy to present it as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This evening we are presenting a review of our grant policy and standards. And we have included the recent resolution for an events grant as part of this review, so you'll find that in the paper as well. The team has taken away our current approach, which we, through that review, we've come to learn was a little bit disjointed. So we've actually put everything into one policy called the grants policy, which is attached this evening. And that policy covers 3 different areas, which is our community grants, our small grants, and the new events grants. And through the procedure, which is the standards which are attached, you can see the process in which the team would go through in order to award those, which is quite similar to the way in which we do that now, and the same for events. So I'm happy to go through any of it in detail if you would like, or happy to answer questions.
The only note I've made is, I think in the standards, it's very specific about the event having to happen in the LGA. I think in the policy it doesn't say that. So I think we've had issues with that in the past.
No, I can take that away.
I guess that's specifically events.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Go on.
Any debates? Does it end? I would like to move this motion, and can I have a seconder for CCS2? Councillor Baladi. Does anybody have any recommendations, amendments, or comments for this grants policy? Councillor Pennsylvania.
Yeah, just for the audio, I'm losing a lot of the audio. It's coming in and out, and I'm not hearing a lot of the discussion. Can I help do something from here, or can someone do something from there?
We are just checking.
Should we adjourn?
3 taking too long.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, she can hear us now.
5 years.
I can hear you now. You're fading away.
I'm not being very loudly.
But councillors are going, volume is going low when they're whispering.
Okay.
But we wouldn't deal with it here. We wouldn't deal with that here.
Councillors, does anyone would like to speak for the motion or against the motion?
I'm going to vote against it.
CCS2?
Yeah, I'll be voting against it. I just think that my time on council, which is almost 10 years, I have seen really any community benefit from any grants issued, apart from probably the small grants, have helped a few local residents. So on that note, I'll vote against the policy.
Does any other councillor want to comment or speak against or for the motion?
Just a question regarding the policy. Does the policy require that the money is spent every year? Like it has to be exhausted?
In terms of the budget?
Yeah.
No. It does end up being expended, because through the community grants we're always oversubscribed, and then you get very high quality applications, and then the team works through the evaluation process. And with small grants, on average, we spend most of it, and sometimes there's some left. But what happens through the policy for small grants is the $5,000 per quarter. Let's say the first quarter we only provide $2,500 because they're the applicants we get. The rest of it goes to the next quarter. It doesn't just get returned to the budget, and it might get used in that second quarter. So it does culminate if there's leftover. So because it ebbs and flows, most of it tends to get picked up. It just depends on who's applying at the time.
Yeah. Just in your experience, Ruthie, basically we basically run hardly anything. Is this money, like I haven't seen, some of these things I haven't seen any real benefit from, in my opinion. Is it not better this money's allocated to council actually running more programs in our facilities, in your experience?
I think the grants that we provide different community benefits. So some are to the individual through our small grants. So we do help families in the local government area with children who are representing the country, for example, through to small events that might not run in the area without the funding. And then through our community grants, similar but on a broader scale. Obviously we haven't run the events grants yet, but I would anticipate there'd be some interest in that. And so I think there is a level of benefit at levels we might not notice, but also might not happen if the grants weren't there. It's hard to tell unless you made a decision to make it look different, but certainly the people who are using those grants are using them within the local government area, and for a diverse range of programs and reasons.
Separate sort of tangential note. When we do provide funding for someone, for example, to travel overseas, support them with those endeavours, I think from a council perspective,
Grants to the, sorry.
and from a council perspective and from a community perspective, I think it'd be really interesting and quite beneficial if we actually got to know the story. Like, you know, if someone went to the World Championships for ping pong and we've paid for them to get there, it would be nice to have them come and present to council about that.
A couple of photos, stories.
Yeah, like I think it actually is beneficial to the community if we know what we're doing.
In our Eve's News. Oh.
Yeah, honestly.
I was about to say, yeah, you know, paper publications.
We used to do that.
Is the expectation of councillors that that's a policy position or just...
Maybe, I don't know how it is best adopted, but...
I think what happens is the mayor invites the person to come in and after they've been overseas, to come into the next meeting to give a
Briefing.
background of what happened.
Personally, I think less an invitation, more a requirement of the grant is that you then present to the community.
Could it be like what's it called, one of the scoring sections? So like if you agree to do it, you get another point towards your application, you're more likely to get approved rather than someone that says...
Yeah, sure. That could be.
Open to you
Anyway,
amending your... So possibly, if it is a policy position, it obviously, or an evaluation position of sorts, it does strengthen the interest for people to come and do that. I think there would be interest from some people who are participating in these things to come and share it with council.
Yeah.
Particularly those good news stories where they are representing the country.
Yeah.
So yes, you could do it as an evaluation point, or you could do it as a policy position. I think either would be appropriate, but not both. You'd probably go one way or the other.
Maybe even for any grants people take it, individual or groups, once they receive the grants, once they spend it, we would like them to come to the public forum and not say thank you, but what they have done to show. We'll send an invitation letter to the people who receive grant, what they have done.
Do you want me to help you with a recommendation?
I think that would be good.
Okay. So what about, as part of the evaluation, so point 5, add to the evaluation for each grant, so each grant type, that an individual or group will receive an extra point if they are prepared to come and present to council. We might just leave it at that, because that could come in different forms.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
Present and or share their story with council.
And I think that's true.
Is it before or after the grant has been given?
After.
After, yeah, fair enough.
But
After
they
the
say up front, yes, I'm willing to put in a story, and maybe that's something you can put in the newsletter.
Yeah.
There might be some that come, so you're opening up the options for how that happens.
I think it's not only, I think it'd be important not only for, you know, the Ping Pong World Championships, but also for local community events, if we did get a bit of a report as to what
Oh
happened.
my goodness. Can I ask you, I'm the recipient of a funding and grant. I never have such kind of things to go and say thank you in front of council. Do you require the expenditure report, Akita report?
Yes.
Akita report is enough. They already expressed how they use it. How can you force them to come and say thank you? It's,
We actually want,
So point,
better make decisions in the future.
Maybe it's
So
not.
point 6 then could be, just reflecting on Esther's comment, you may be requested to present to council or share a story. So they do it through evaluation, and they may be requested. But there may be people who, and I can't think of a good example right now, but there may be people who aren't just comfortable to come do that, for example, and that might be okay.
That's fine, they could send their report,
I think
what you have done.
yeah,
They can send an email.
there's a bit of a,
I think it should be a requirement that a report is given. Like I've received.
Given where you have spent what you have done,
Yeah.
how is it beneficial to Stratfield, all the residents?
I've received state funding for a community group before, and it was a requirement of the funding that we had to provide a report, photos outside of the financial report. There had to be a report showing what, you know, how it was used and telling a bit of a story. So I think that should be the minimum requirement.
Excellent.
okay. So that comes through the acquittal process, and is that something you would like shared with, the acquittal bit shared with council?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
More accountable and transparent. All good. Is there any other comments, amendments, recommendations? Councillor Pennsylvania, would you like to comment or recommend anything?
No, I'm all good.
All good. Councillors, now I put the motion to, councillors, can you please check your screens for the amendments and the points? If you're happy,
it's fine.
Akita report. Akita report is not here.
We already do that stuff, so we'll bring that to council.
present share their story with, present and share with council what?
Like a story of their.
Their spending or their event, or there should be something, I don't know what, maybe story here.
This depends on the grant. Some are events, some are.
When they will present, they will share their story after or before?
After as well.
After.
And they got a provisional extra point next term?
No, for the current. So if they agree to it in the application, they get an extra point, and then after they.
So in the application, they have an extra point? Okay, it doesn't matter.
Councillors, are you happy with the amendments, recommendations? Yep. Now Now I put the motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Councillor Reddy, Councillor Pennsylvania, Councillor Nosworthy, Councillor Kim, Councillor Bellardi. All against, Councillor Blackmore. Carried out. No, what do I say? Sorry. Yeah, motion carries out. I forgot.
There you go.
The last one? Oh, we need one. Yeah. Councillors, we are going to have a quick 5 minutes adjournment as we are having some issues with the IT equipment logistics. We'll adjourn for 5 minutes and we'll come back.
Did you talk to already? You talked about this already?
Time out. And then she wanted. So we talked to Ben yesterday, don't worry.
You're in that chair.
Nah, the problem is to get in that chair.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
In the office, you think like literally like.
That is so.
I'm going to do exactly what they say, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to work with them. But then I realise, like the whole time you're in council, you're like, oh, like so bad.
Well, yeah, they've got their own goals and agendas.
Yeah, fuck their goal.
Should we?
Yeah, I know.
Adam?
That's the problem.
Oh, some people really frustration.
That's Karen.
Some people, many people think council
Their goals.
staff is not kind. Not kind.
We're right together.
Train them.
Kick them out.
Councillors, we are online. We are back online, councillors. Welcome back, Councillor Pennsylvania.
She's waiting.
Councillors, We have a third-party report, presentation of draft Strathfield Centre Master Plan, update and inputs from councillors. Page 50 in your agenda. Attending the meeting via online audio-visual for this agenda item, we have Scott Davis from Hassel Studios, the consultant engaged by council for this project as an observer, and Peter Burnett from Noble Shore, who is engaged as the probity advisor for this project and will address council on this matter of probity during the presentation. I would ask Rita Valley, Manager Planning and Place, to present the council.
Good evening, councillors. I might just throw to Peter Barnett, who's from Noble Shore and is our probity officer on this project, just to give councillors a quick overview on the probity considerations as part of the preparation of the master plan. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Rita. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so I'm here just to observe the discussion tonight and provide any probity advice on any probity risks that might come up. I've been involved in the Town Centre Master Planning project since late 2023 to ensure the integrity of the project is maintained. We've emphasised throughout the importance of clear definitions of roles and responsibilities for everyone involved, alignment of all actions and decisions with the approved objectives, scope and parameters of the project, ensuring the project remains free from undue influence, protecting confidential information and managing conflicts of interest. And as the project enters into its final stages, these things remain central to ensuring its integrity. So I would just emphasise to everyone that's participating in the project to make sure that you maintain the confidentiality of any sensitive information that's disclosed in connection with the project, and secondly, to make sure that you're vigilant in identifying and declaring interests and associations that could represent a conflict of interest. So I'm going to hand back to Rita now, unless there are any questions for me.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, well, thank you.
So councillors and Madam Chair, I just want to reiterate we've got Scott Davies online, who's from Hassel Studio, and he's a consultant working with council on the preparation of the master plan. So he's our lead consultant and we're working closely with Hassel Studio in the preparation of the master plan. Now, in terms of tonight's session, the reason we're here is to give the councillors the opportunity to provide input, and what we're looking at is input on the 5 key areas that we're looking at delivering through the master plan. So I've got a few slides that give you a bit of background on where we are to date, and then we will move into the session where we will be seeking council input. That input will all be recorded as part of the minutes of tonight's meeting, and we will be responding to that input in the process moving forward with the delivery of the master plan. So in terms of the journey so far, it has been quite a journey to date, and we commenced in around 2024. So there has already been extensive community consultation as well as consultation with key government stakeholders as part of that process. So there's a number of reports, and we have a web page where all this information is available. So that covers the community engagement that we did prior to engaging the consultants and starting the project. There was also a stakeholder charrette that we held very early in the process in early 2025, and that was with the key stakeholders, so the government authorities and our adjoining neighbours, councils. And then also the key directions report, which was presented to council late last year. It was endorsed to go on public exhibition, it was exhibited and then brought back to council. And that report was presented back in September 2025. So just in terms of the master planning process and the framework and context. The master plan forms part of a whole process that we have to undertake. So just looking at this diagram, we had the initial engagement which led to the development of a vision and the key directions which have carried through. We're currently in the process of preparing the draft master plan, which will need to come to council for endorsement to go on public exhibition. And as part of that master plan, it will also include an implementation plan. So what that implementation plan will have, it'll identify at a high level the key changes that council is supporting to go on public exhibition so that we can then be talking to the community and key landholders in the centre around those changes that the master plan is looking at delivering. There will be a stage that follows that. So once we've exhibited the master plan then comes back to council post-exhibition. Council can make changes to the master plan post-exhibition, depending on submissions, and also council officers can recommend those changes. Now, if the master plan and implementation plan are adopted by the councillors, that's not the end of the process. So to deliver those outcomes, we generally have to follow the next 3 steps. So it will be the development of a planning proposal that changes the controls in the local environmental plan or adds new controls in. A contributions framework that will sit alongside that whole suite, and that allows us to collect contributions, very similar to what's happened with the Homebush Todd precinct. And then that money is then spent on works identified in a work schedule within the town centre, and also an urban design framework. So that looks at the public realm and how we deliver any of the outcomes that have been identified in the master plan through the public realm. So the money will come from the contributions plan, but the public realm will provide the details. So things are like paving, lighting, so everything to do with the public realm. David, next slide, please. It's not clicking. So in terms of just moving through the steps of where we are today, the vision, so that vision was endorsed by council in 2024. It was reiterated in the key directions report that came to council last year. So that'll be the high level, and the vision was prepared by the community as part of that work that was undertaken in 2024. And also during the stakeholders charrette, we asked the key stakeholders to acknowledge that vision, and that was undertaken as well. So then we have also the 10 key directions. So these key directions basically form the premise for moving forward with the next stage of the master plan, which will identify 5 key areas. So these key directions were endorsed by council last September, and at a high level provide those 10 key outcomes. So connecting with Strathfield's history, which relates to the history and the development of Strathfield LGA, leaning into local, which is all around economic development and supporting our businesses within the town centre, strengthening the precinct, which looks at a town centre that is anchored by a civic.
Can you enlarge it? No, you cannot read it even. Can you read it small letters?
Do we have it on our iPad?
She's reading it.
No iPad, nothing.
She's reading it.
She's reading it for you.
Not even reading is no. No, not possible.
Esther.
No.
Esther. Rita is reading the same thing. If you can listen.
Very presentation.
So in terms of strengthening the civic precinct, it's about how within the town centre we can strengthen the presence of council and the civic responsibilities of council. Reimagining the Strathfield Town Square. So what does the square look like? How do we improve the town square. How does the town square relate to its surroundings and surrounding development? Creating an inclusive town centre, so a centre that's safe for everyone and is inclusive of everyone. Supporting our food culture, so Strathfield's food culture, so that's the current food culture and any emerging food culture. Greening the boulevard, so that's looking at how we can bring more green into the town centre and particularly along the boulevard, and that is a reflection of the history. So these all link back in, so the green nature of the Strathfield LGA. Integrating Strathfield's movement network, so that's looking at the station and the relationship of the station to the town centre and the square. The bus interchange, cycling and walking routes. Improving north-south connections, so how do we bring the northern side of the town centre, which is on within the Burwood LGA, how do we bring in that population, because the population on that side is increasing, to our side of the town centre, so that there's economic development and people are coming into the square and spending money in the town centre. And then enabling the plan change. So that's all around what controls are required, what do we need to do to facilitate development in the town centre so that the town centre continues to grow and is sustainable into the future. So in terms of the update on the progress, so we're continuing on the development of a draft master plan, and we intend to present that to the council in June for consideration. That process, as I mentioned, so if council endorses the master plan will be put on public exhibition, and that will then allow us to be speaking to the community more closely, and also particularly with landowners within the town centre. So we have been speaking to the landowners, but we can't speak to them specifically on any detail within the master plan until that master plan is endorsed by the council. So the master plan will be informed and is informed by a significant evidence base, and we have a number of sub-consultants who are supporting us in preparing that evidence base. So that looks at things like traffic, flooding, economic development. It covers off everything. There's quite a large raft of documents that will support the master plan. They will also be brought to council, and if council endorses the master plan, they go on exhibition with the master plan. So in bringing the master plan forward, it's proposed that the master plan will include two options. So option one will be a short-term option and a light touch option that covers off on all the 5 key areas that we'll be looking at later, and also a longer-term transformational piece. So the master plan in itself as a document is a document that will deliver the outcomes over the next 20 to 30 years. So this won't happen overnight. So we're looking at having short and long-term options for the key 5 areas that can be delivered over that time frame. So something that's really important and something that is constantly changing in the current climate and has changed significantly since we commenced this process is the current planning framework. So we've had the introduction of the Housing Delivery Authority, which is the state government authority, Housing Development Authority, which is a state government authority and is managed by the state government. And what that authority does is that it allows developers to go directly to the state government with expressions of interest for redevelopment of their site. Now, those expressions of interest override any council control, so they override the LEP and the Development Control Plan. So an applicant can go to the Housing Development Authority, the HDA, and seek approval from the Minister to proceed with an application that is outside the realms of Council's planning framework. So we've had a number of applications declared by the HDA within the town centre, so within the Strathfield side of the town centre, and also within the frame area, which is the Burwood side of the town centre. So we've had 4 declaration orders for SSDAs, which are moving forward, 1 to 9 the Boulevard and 2 to 12 Churchill Avenue, which is within the master plan area and is on the edge of the Strathfield Town Square. So it's basically the corner of Churchill and the Boulevard. 2 to 6 Pilgrim Avenue and 11 to 13 Albert Road, which is within the master plan area but is on the edge of the master plan area. Then we've got 2 within the Burwood LGA, so 27 to 33 Everton Road, which is on the northern side of the railway line and within the frame area of our study area. And 3 to 7 Lyons Road and 18 Purnell, which is to the east of the study area. And we're also aware of 1 expression of interest, which is yet to be considered by the HDA. So these developments, in terms of the planning framework, are seeking significant uplift above and beyond what's currently permitted within our current planning framework, and they're essentially pushing the boundaries. So they're currently being assessed. Council does have feedback into this process, and we continue to provide feedback, and our feedback essentially responds to how we can get public benefit out of these developments. So that map there just gives you an indication of where those sites are within the context of the town centre and what we're working in. So what that means is it leaves very few sites left for consideration by council as part of this master planning process in terms of a planning framework. Yes, councillor.
Just the middle red section there includes the council car park.
Yes.
So someone's put a HDA application in?
No, so the blue ones are the HDA sites. So you've got 2 within our LGA and then the 2 within the Burwood LGA.
Yeah.
And then we've got another expression of interest which hasn't proceeded through the HDA process, so it hasn't been given a declaration.
I'm assuming that's
But we understand that it's under, it's under consideration. But we don't know the detail of that one at this stage.
And then the middle red block, what's that referring to?
So that essentially shows what sites within the town centre are underdeveloped. So in terms of underdeveloped sites and sites that we could look at for uplift, you've got the Strathfield Plaza site, and those sites adjoining, which are within the Heritage Conservation Area along the boulevard. You've got council sites, and you've got those sites adjoining council site to the east of the town square. So really, in terms of a planning framework, because we've got those applications already going through an SSDA process, our focus will be on those key sites as part of the master plan. So in terms of the challenges, and there have been some challenges, particularly with getting buy-in from landowners, those key sites are consolidated sites to a greater extent. But we have had challenges, particularly with Strathfield Plaza, in getting the landowners to talk to council so that we can understand what they're looking at and what the future of their site is. There's also uncertainty because there are more changes coming through from the state government. There will be an expansion of complying development that's coming through. We don't know how far that expansion is going to go and what it's going to impact. And also around the HDA process, there are changes being made. Essentially, the state government's priority is the delivery of housing. And obviously, within the current climate, there are market and feasibility constraints. And since we commenced this master plan to this point in time, they've further worsened. And we're already seeing that coming through with DAs We've had some applicants who've lodged DAs who are now withdrawing DAs because of the uncertainty and the costs moving forward. So that's going to have a huge impact within the town centre with some of these developments. And in terms of those developments that are going through the SSDA process, so they have a fairly restricted time frame, and that's part of the whole HDA process. So they essentially have 2 years to commence, to go through the process, and then they need to commence within a certain time frame when they get their approval. The state government's also looking at that and tightening that, because what they're finding is the state government is issuing approvals and then the development's not happening. So just moving forward into the next stage. So as I said, there are 5 key areas that we're looking at as part of the master plan based on the vision and the key directions report. And they relate to Strathfield Square, including the relationship to Strathfield Station and the entrance to Strathfield Station, the bus interchange, Council's car park as a site, the boulevard, and also key sites and the planning framework generally. So moving forward, what we're going to do is we're going to be running through each of those key areas one by one, and then seeking the council's input. So I'll go through what we're trying to achieve as part of the master plan. I'll also identify some high-level considerations that have already been identified as part of the master planning process. And then what we're seeking, councillors, is your input on each of those key areas. So any ideas, anything that you would like council officers and our consultant to be considering, and what the process will be moving forward. And this is up to the councils as to the time frame for this. We can either come back to the next round of committee and council meetings in May and present what we've heard and how we intend to respond to it prior to bringing the master plan to you, or we can just bring it all back in June as part of the report on the draft master plan.
I prefer the first option.
So yeah, as part of your resolution, you can include that in there. But what we're going to do is David and I think Paul are going to be taking down all the input that's raised, and then we'll come back with a response to that. Are there any questions on any of the previous slides that councillors?
Very basic questions, I'm just trying to understand. Once the HDA is approved by state, so do we lose our contributions and everything?
No. So we still get contributions. So as part of the state significant development assessment process, the state government will ask us for conditions. So we will give them a set of conditions, and those conditions always include the contributions condition. One of the things we are pushing for with a lot of the HDAs, and we are working very closely with all of the developers that have SSDAs in the local government area, is we're trying to get additional public benefit for our community. So, for example, with the one in the Strathfield Town Centre, we're talking very much about the development's relationship to the square and what that looks like for council in the long run.
My other question, I'll just ask one more question. In the previous slides, you have shown option 1 and option 2. Option 1 was short term and option 2 was long term. So do we have to choose one, or we adopt one for the short term and we work for the option 2? Is that what it meant?
So the intention is that we bring a master plan that has both options, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to deliver a long-term master plan. So you'll be presented with 2 options, a short-term option for the particular area. So say, for example, we're looking at Strathfield Square. We'll have option 1, which is a short-term option, which will identify short-term interventions for what we want to do with the square. and then longer term options. So option 2 will be a longer term option that might be reliant on other things like redevelopment of the sites adjoining the square. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to give the community and council a master plan that is going to take us through to the long term and is going to be used for the whole redevelopment of the centre, so that we don't have to come back and say, okay, well, now we've got sites that are redeveloping on the edges, what should we be asking for? We want the master plan to cover off on all of that.
Rita, thank you for your hard work, but honestly, I have expected some master plan is different from what you showed me. And this photo images are real in future ones, or you just made it?
No, so councillor, this isn't the master plan. We're still working on the master plan and we're aiming to bring the master plan to council, a draft master plan to council in June.
Yes.
These are one component. So what we
The
have,
component, but the outlooking.
they're the principles.
The outlooking looks like this. You are thinking of like this.
No, so they're the principles that relate to the delivery of the key areas and the master plan options that will be presented to you in June.
Because today I expected if you give us a bird eye plan and Strasbourg Square and Strasbourg Town Centre, how it will be changing,
June.
then we can see this one and we will put our ideas. It will come on June, I know. But today, if roughly we can see, we can put our ideas. Say that today you said here, Strasbourg Square expansion, connectivity, functionality, and place quality. Then I thought expansion, how, from where to how we are thinking of as master plan, and connectivity, from where to where you will connect, like here, by south and north, and green line, like you made it, but more specific showing us the explanation where to where and the functionality, what kind of functionality you are thinking of. Then we can put our ideas. Just with this word, for me, very vague. I don't know, how can I put my ideas here? I don't know, you master plan, your idea, how can I put my idea here? Honestly, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not good enough. So, or other my counselors, you may be better than me. So, if you have any ideas, how do you explain Strasbourg expansion? How do you make your expansion? How do you make it? Strasbourg is very small land, but we have to make this. Most of the expansion, people can use it. You will underground. You will make underground, or you will make high rise. How you get expansion of Strasbourg Square? Connectivity from where to where, the Strasbourg Square, where to where. From Strasbourg Station to North Strasbourg Station or Hong Kong Station, or Strasbourg Plaza, Boulevard. How do you do it? We have to know this, and then we can put our idea. That's what I'm thinking. The other one, I don't say that. Bus is interchange. Your idea from bus interchange, how would you change these interchanges? From which street to where, you blocked somewhere, like Albert Road blocking, make a Strasbourg Square expansion, free pedestrian area. You want to change this one to what? If you keep that idea, then we can put, I think. That's my expectation. Maybe I expect too much. I don't know.
No, councillor, I think you're right, and that will be brought to you in June. But specifically what this session is about is understanding whether or not, because yes, you're right, council and the team working on the master plan have got ideas, but we need to be sure that our ideas are aligning with the councillor's vision. And then when we bring it back, we will be presenting exactly what you're asking for. So there will be diagrams showing, how we propose to expand the centre, if that's supported by the councillors, because I suppose that's the issue, is do the councillors, so if we're looking at Strathfield Square, we might just run through the points unless there's a question. Yeah.
I'll let you finish that point.
But, yeah, so you're right, the master plan, the draft master plan will bring those elements that you mentioned, and we'll have plans and diagrams, and like I said, it'll have a short-term and a long-term option. But at this stage, we're just wanting to hear and listen to what the councillors consider to be important in relation to those. So in terms of what we're aiming to achieve, we talk about expanding the square. Do the councillors support that? Is what we want to know.
Sorry to talk all the time. I am talking, you are the councillors, sorry about
Can I ask
that.
something,
Councillor
Councillor?
Balaji.
I hate to sound ungrateful, but isn't it extremely late in the piece to now be asking councillors what we think of these things?
I think, council, we need to be sure that we're aligned, and there's no point in us bringing you a draft master plan where we had no, because there are constraints, and we've talked about the constraints, and there are constraints with the state government stakeholders. But I suppose this is testing whether or not we're going in the right direction, because if we're not going in the right direction, then we're going to have to pull back and come back to council. In terms of the process, so the main thing around 4 of the 5 items relate to infrastructure in the town centre and what the expectations of the councillors are in terms of what that centre delivers over time. Then you've also got the planning framework, and that's something, to be honest, that the team and the planners are still grappling with because of the planning reform. So how we move that forward and what that looks like when we're presenting that in the master plan. Because what we don't want to present is a master plan that's not going to work, essentially, because that would be a waste of the resources that we have and also this process that we've undertaken. So I suppose that this is about alignment and listening to the council's input, because there might be something that we haven't thought about, that we haven't considered, that we need to be considering.
Councillor Blackmore.
Yeah, no, I think I understand what Councillor Kim's saying. Like, for someone like we're not planners, I honestly could not care any of these words on this paper, because like if I was building a house for myself, I don't need to do all this background garbage stuff to come up with a vision. Like, I'll say, okay, this is what I physically want and what I can see I want to achieve. So we don't have, like, for a normal person who's not a planner, we don't have to tick all these boxes for the state government or for this, whatever reason all these things are. So I can understand it's a lot easier to, when you look at something and you look at a picture, where you can actually say, well, we kind of like that idea, or we don't, or whatever. Because to me, like, those words mean nothing. Like, really, I'm sorry, but like, it's not disrespectful. I understand that it's part of the process and part of the thing that needs to be done. And I think, personally, I think it is it's stuff that is probably over the top and waste of money. Because you can go down there, and if you actually watch traffic flow, pedestrian flow, how people are walking, if you talk to, the local people who sit down there and see what goes on every day in the town centre, and the businesses who are living it every day, they can, like, they would be able to probably pull out a napkin and draw up to say, hey, it would be better if it was like this. So it's a really long process. It's been like the first talk about a plan in the town centre was 1975.
The last time it was renovated.
Yeah, and like even 1979, the footprint that you've got there, key sites, like there's in our own DCP, there's actually a diagram, the town centre DCP, there's actually a diagram of the town centre which actually shows that it's actually larger than that up to Margaret Street. I know, what's it called, back in November 22, there was a resolution of council, talking about, where are we? Potential expansion of the town centre, so not necessarily an expansion of the square. So that was resolved in November 22. Talking about actually potentially, if there are constraints, where do we actually expand out to from the footprint. And yeah, there's key sites that have been identified, and I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I have a bit of an understanding of what properties sell for. There's older buildings there, which potentially, when you've got HDAs in there seeking massive heights above our planning controls, which may get approved, or I think it is, or is it approved, or potential approval of the HDAs, the ones that are...
The ones that I've showed have been approved and are moving forward.
Yeah, so they're like massively enormous heights compared to what we have in the town centre. So if those heights are getting approved, I assume that adjacent landowners or other landowners locally would say, well, that's X amount of, 50 stories or whatever it is. Why couldn't I get this height on mine? And that they could probably go to the state government and do the same thing. So I just look at that and I just think it's pretty naive if there's certain older unit buildings, for example, that aren't I haven't done the feasibility on them, but I'm just saying there's older unit buildings where with the 75% strata rules that they could actually buy those buildings up and actually deliver something a bit better. So I just think it's to have for us to come and see there's two potential sites, to not have an actual picture of an idea of what the look and feel might be. It is hard for us to give really good feedback, I think. And I know there's we've had all this whole thing, and every single plan that they've done is about really real focus on probity and stuff like that. But I can assure you, if you got someone who's getting massive heights around the town centre, that if there was anyone actually looking at buying up land, it'll be because the other properties are getting massive heights. It's not because a staff member or a councillor has said, hey, there's a master plan going on and we're going to put new paving in the town centre or something like that. I just think it's taken so long. It's taken so long, and now we've now got all these HDAs or SSD, whatever they are, have come in now. So I think that's where the frustration probably would be from councillors, that we would have preferred to have more control of it. But the process and all this sort of stuff, all the fluffy stuff has taken so long. And to us, we see there's no outcome, and I don't want to. I've seen it happen in the past. There's been a number of attempts at doing something, and I support reactivating the town centre. The town centre is terrible. Some of the development's been done in the last probably 10 or 15 years. The small number of buildings that are built are terrible, and it actually just if we don't actually activate this centre and actually get something changing down there. We have homeless people living in front of shops. There's a guy there. He's got his own painting, and they're trying to sell it as well. And the number of homeless people in the town centre, the number of businesses. There's from what I've been told, over 53% of businesses in the town centre are more than 3 months behind in their rent. So something needs to change down there, and I think we need to take some serious action and get this done a lot quicker, to be honest.
I agree. And just quickly echoing what the two councillors before me mentioned, I guess the reason I say is it not all too late is that we've been given 5 concepts here to provide feedback on, or conceptual ideas. Not that pictures or anything I'm sure that would have been helpful, but it's more when I say are we not too late? I mean, understanding what our view on these things are, wouldn't that have been more reasonable to do before all the work was done, assuming the work has mostly been done? I mean, I understand you're saying tonight that it's about ensuring in this final stage there is an alignment, but wouldn't it have been sort of more appropriate to have these sorts of discussions a year ago, but when we've got the key directions and they started looking at what the plan was moving forward? I just don't understand why it's so late in the piece that councillors who, I actually think no matter how good our consultants might be, will never understand the town centre as much as the people in this room do. Why are we the last people to be engaged?
I think it's important. So we haven't really engaged. So councillors are the first first group being engaged on the master plan. Because we haven't brought the master plan and that master plan hasn't gone out. So we had to very early on involve the key government stakeholders because we needed to understand what those constraints were. And we also need to bring along the Department of Planning because I acknowledge and I'm hearing everything that's being said, but we've got to step through certain requirements to then be able to move into the implementation phase. Because what could happen is if we don't have the support of particularly the Department of Planning and with respect to Strathfield Transport, they won't let us move forward with the planning proposal. And if we don't have the basis, so if we haven't shown how we've identified the vision, developed the key directions and how that all formulates within the master plan, we have no control over the planning proposal. The planning proposal we can prepare, we can put that to the Department of Planning, and they can come back to us when they do their adequacy check and say to council, this is not sufficient, you haven't crossed off on X, Y and Z. We don't want that to happen because, you know, this process moving forward, so if council does endorse the master plan, the draft in June, it goes through an exhibition phase. Now, council will decide how long that exhibition phase is and what that looks like. We will present an exhibition strategy, but we want to be sure that what we're presenting, and I acknowledge it's taken a long time. You know, I was at this council previously and we were working on it, and that's a few years ago. I just want to be able to deliver the council a plan that is going to be supported by the state government. Because if we get to the state government and they don't support the plan, we've got nowhere to go really. Because they've got to support the planning proposal moving forward to make those changes. And that relates to the planning framework. Sorry, Madam Chair.
No, sorry. Once you're finished, Councillor Pennsylvania would like to say something.
Councillor?
Am I right now? You finished, Rita?
Yes.
Yeah, Rita, is there any chance, say for the next next May strategy meeting, to actually have some planning designs to show us? I know you're going to give it to us all in June, but if we could just see an outline of what's going to be put up in June, I think it would allay a lot of it would stop a lot of questions. And if we saw some pictures of planning of what you're thinking of doing in May, then we'll have a whole month before we have to put it out to exhibition in June. Is there any chance that that could happen in May?
We can take that on notice, councillor, and come back to the council. I mean, council can make a recommendation that we do that. As I said, we are working through, you know, we are having, with things like the boulevard, we are having to talk to Burwood Council, and that has been a challenge in trying to get them to come to the party. But, I mean, I acknowledge and I'm hearing what the councillors are saying, but I would really still like for the councillors to use this session to provide any additional input. Because I think that's really important.
Should we go
I would
through?
like to...
I just don't think that we could provide input when we don't see the plan.
That's right.
Because we are visual people, we live and work in the area, we see and we play with it every day. But if we don't see a plan, and I think I echo Councillor Blackmore's view, we're not planners, but if we saw a plan, we could actually put our efforts into looking at it and saying, yes, that'll work, no, that won't work.
Thank you, Councillor Pennsylvania. I would also like to comment. We probably, in the initial stage, we stick probably over 100 posted notes what we wanted. There were like too many ideas, and we come up with some bullet points. Think of us like a layman we are normal people with a second job, real job somewhere else. Just reading a bullet point is really confusing. What are you talking about? Deliver targeted upgrade to enhance safety and user experience. Which part, which corner? Are you talking about the walkway? Are you talking about the busway? Or the traffic-free zone? The bullet points really don't help us to think what you're thinking. And the other thing was, right now you have presented bullet points for us, but every bullet point have some idea. You do have some idea, that's what you said. We would really like to peep into it, know it from now onwards, like not after you decide and make a framework and put it back. It's going on and off. Maybe somewhere in the planning, we are together, we both are deciding, rather than you bring a report, we agree or disagree, and it goes back. Why can't we do it somewhere, some point we could both be on the same platform and do it?
So councillors, can I put forward a suggestion?
Yeah.
That maybe to the May meeting, because I don't think we'll be able to bring back all 5, because as I said, the planning framework is challenging and we're still working through some of those issues. But in terms of Strathfield Square, the bus interchange and the boulevard, we could bring back what you're asking for in terms of the 2 options that we're looking at.
Could I make a suggestion just on
That would
Councillor
be great, Rita.
I think, I mean, I'm happy to, if other councillors are, if we just comment a little bit on each of these 5 bullet points to provide you with some level of guidance at this point, acknowledging that guidance is very difficult, we can't see what we're talking about, but knowing these areas and knowing how these things function currently, I think we can all provide significant commentary on what changes could look like, and I think that's what you're really after. I think the disagreement is on the process thus far, but I think we can move forward with doing this. I'm happy to begin commentary.
I would agree with you. At the same time, it will give us an opportunity to ask what does the bullet point really means as well. Councillor Nosworthy, really sorry, I couldn't.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a different tact. Obviously, one of the slides about the bus interchange, and we're creating a master plan, we've got key sites. Is there any scope, you know, they apply to state government and we say, well, hey, we've got this vision for the bus interchange, which, you know, maybe we need that corner of your building to cut through or whatever. Does the master plan have that power to apply to an SSD to go, well, if we put the bus there, then the square goes there, and no?
No, so unfortunately, even if council does have an endorsed master plan, the HDA and SSDA process overrides the master plan. What it does give us is it gives us greater leverage to advocate as part of the process. So as part of the process, the SSDA process, council is like anyone else. And we make a submission. Yeah. And those submissions have been coming to
We've seen ones for previous
council. So we can advocate strongly that if we have an endorsed master plan that's been endorsed by the council and has been exhibited and the community supported it, that gives us some leverage to go back and argue, very much like we're doing with the Homebush Todd precinct and the applications we've got in the precinct. But it doesn't override, like it won't take precedence in their assessment because their intent is to deliver housing.
Rita, regarding the master plan, last month I had a motion that we have to collaborate with Transport New South Wales. Most of important Stratford station is very important for including our master plan. Without a cooperation we have to discuss with them our idea and their idea. We have to compromise which way is the best way to make our community very vibrant and effective way we can live. So so can you, as much as information given to us, we can give you a better idea. Say, for example, if you have some high-rise buildings in Panel Street, Lion Street there, the developers will contribute something, as far as I understand, is right or not? They
So
may.
there's developer we take the money from development within our side of the local government area.
Yeah.
Burwood takes their money.
Okay. Oh,
So what we're trying to do, and to your point, we have been already talking to Transport for New South Wales. Our consultants have appointed Arup to do our transport work for us, and they are talking to Transport for New South Wales. When we had that initial stakeholder charrette, we had all sections of Transport for New South Wales come along at the very beginning. So we had rail, we had bus, we had the place team, and we've also done a walk around with Transport. So we are trying to work very closely with Transport for New South Wales to get the outcomes that the council is wanting. The difficulty is ensuring that as the master plan moves forward and we move to implementation, we're getting that support from the state government. So just because we have those ideas in the master plan doesn't mean that the state government will help us deliver those ideas, but it helps us to advocate and it gives us leverage to push, and particularly when there's funding opportunities, it allows us to say we've got a master plan that's been endorsed by the council, this is the vision of the council, this is what we want to see. So for example, with the railway and the square, we want the access opened up so that it's more accessible and inviting and it brings people into the square.
So after we have redevelopment of a town centre and we will have a lots of increase of a population, that this population will use Stradbroke Station. Stradbroke Station is second largest and important station in New South Wales, I think. So we can ask them to state government to spend money, and they have to upgrade Stradbroke Station too. Only our town centre is developed, but their station is really outdated. How can they accommodate all this increased population? The commuters.
That's right, and that's what
so
the master
we have
plan.
to push them to spend money there. Also, when you get money, you have to show us with this development in contributions. We want to build this kind of things for improve our town centre. Without you giving us information, we cannot put our ideas there. We just in very big, they vaguely give us only the word here. As everybody said already, because seeing is much better than hearing. So you have to give us with this. If you have idea with these contributions, how you can make this town center and town square and a car park hub, community hub. What kind of community hub are you going to do it? Give us all the information next time. Can you do that?
So councillors, yes, we will be coming back with that level of detail in the draft master plan.
And the boulevard, by that, I was very naive. I thought this boulevard, Greenland, like this. I thought it's like this. Shouldn't be like this, no? So the boulevard, the green side, you said is a boulevard. Where is the boulevard? Transportation, transformation into people-focused civic spine. So this is a very important word. Show us how you will change this boulevard.
But does
Can
the
you make
council, yeah, we can do that.
Okay, this council support that.
Are you
No, I think saying what does it mean?
Yeah, like I think that's, I mean, I could say theoretically, and
What does it look like?
what I meant to say earlier is like theoretically, yes, we could go through all of these and say yes, 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 we agree that these are conceptually nice ideas. How do they manifest?
But have we missed anything? And I suppose that's what we're trying to capture, is we don't want to get to a point where we might come back to you in May and we've missed something and then it's raised. So this is giving the councillors the opportunity where we've outlined what we're aiming to achieve in words, but have we missed anything? Is there something that we're not hearing? Because this is these aims that we're trying to achieve have come from the community engagement that we've already undertaken, speaking to the landowners that we've been able to speak to, and like I said, that's been very challenging in this process since I've been working on the master plan. Is there anything else? Is there something that we've missed that's inherently important to the councillors that we need to be considering?
Connectivity, you are thinking of Strawberry Square connectivity. Are you thinking from station to Strawberry Square and also from Strawberry Square to the Everton Road? There is very horrible tunnel there. Are you including it too?
Yes, so we...
So the horrible tunnel is both council, they have to pay for it too, not only us. So we have to collaborate with the both council. If we have developed the other side, the boulevard, or the other side, the boulevard, all councils, the both councils. But actually people think this is Strathfield because facing Strawberry Square. So both council also do not take their money, they have to contribute. They have to contribute here Strathfield Square.
So we're working
The
closely.
residents are working and they're using our Strawberry station. People go there and eating and everything there.
That's
So
benefit the businesses too.
yeah,
So
they have
it's
to.
just something
We have
that
to insist on that.
we just got to live with it. It's,
They'll spend on their side, we'll spend on our
We
side.
are working
No,
closely.
they have to pay us.
I'm sure they'll agree
We
with that.
can't force, there's no legislative requirement. So the legislation that we work within,
Think about it.
we try and get, so it's not only contributions, so developers have to pay a monetary contribution. But where council can try and negotiate other outcomes plus the developer contributions, that's what we're working to achieve. So I understand our community doesn't see that line down the centre of the boulevard, and this is Strathfield and this is Burwood. We've been trying to work closely with Burwood Council. We can't force them to come to the
No,
table.
you have to find a reasonable reason. Reasonable reason, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and tell them, persuade them is your target, your role. That's what I'm thinking. If I were you, I will do that.
But we're trying to work closely with them, Councillor.
Yeah, and then we have to make it really a connectivity. Think about if you say make it only simple tunnel under the ground, this will be the criminal places will be. So we should think about more expansion under the ground because so little small space. As lots of people come, you have to think more deeply. The underground, nice big city there, and connectivity to all the stations. Metros coming to Strathfield. Strathfield is expanding to all the state.
I'm not sure.
That's my idea.
Yeah.
Whether you think you will accept or not, I don't know. That's
So councillors, did we want to go through
I'd love
the
to.
So, yeah.
5 key areas and just, in terms of, it's more about understanding whether there's anything that we've missed and understanding, I mean, I'm happy to explain anything that requires further clarification, but we'd really like to hear your input. So if you're happy for me to start with Strathfield Square.
Yep.
So what we're trying to achieve with Strathfield Square, and we've been through this, so it's all about how we can make the square a bigger and better place, how we can better connect the square to the station and make that a seamless connection. If the sites flanking or surrounding the square are redeveloped, because we can't force redevelopment, and that's another issue. So we can put whatever controls we want to put in, a master plan and an LEP, but at the end of the day, if it's not viable for that developer, they won't deliver on the development.
Are you familiar with which parts of the station are heritage?
It's all of it actually.
So the entrances that come up
Yes.
on the side, they have to remain as is?
Well, no, I mean, they are heritage listed, but that doesn't mean that a heritage listed station can't be reconfigured in a sympathetic way to deliver the outcome that the master plan might identify. So I think opening up the access to the centre can be done sympathetically. So I think we shouldn't be held back by constraints such as heritage. We should be identifying what our expectations are, And then obviously it's up to the experts and Transport for New South Wales to then be able to deliver that outcome.
Yeah, because I was of the understanding that obviously the platforms are heritage listed and the signal building off to the left as you're looking at it. And I think some of those entrance buildings are made of breeze blocks, which wouldn't strike me as heritage.
They are, but the way it's identified in the LEP is the whole station precinct is identified. So yes, it would be the platforms that are the actual heritage component, but the curtilage identifies that whole station precinct, and that's something that's been done. We could try to change that as part of this process in reducing that curtilage, but at the end of the day, the state-owned property, they can essentially do what they want. And they have done so at other stations that are heritage listed. They put in lifts, they do modern adaptations, so they can do it. That shouldn't be a constraint.
I guess if we're talking about the state entrance now, the station entrance, I guess where I think there's an opportunity, if something was possible, as you're leaving the station coming to the square, you have to turn right or left to catch either entrances. But the space between where the entrances meet the streets, so on the station side, is that simple pathway, which is, I think, dead space, really. It's usually people smoking, jumping in a taxi, that's about it. And so I guess my interest would be, is it possible for that to be where the entrance to the station is in the future?
Single, bigger...
Yeah, like kind of how Wynyard opens up into the street directly up. Something like that could be really attractive, but I guess there are constraints, of course.
So seamless flow.
Yeah, rather than like come in, go this way.
Like go down.
There's this middle
Straight, yeah.
Yeah, so they're the things we want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, because yes, we've thought about that, and yes, you know, that there are constraints with the road network and how that works, but we are looking at that.
And what roads are possible to close without impeding on the state's interests?
Well, we need to talk to Burwood Council. We're in discussions with Burwood Council around the boulevard. The issue that we now have is the state's significant development on the corner of Churchill and the boulevard, and where their proposed entry and exit point is, because it's exactly opposite Parnell Street. So if that goes ahead, then it's limiting how far
On the boulevard,
on the
sorry?
boulevard. And then to the north, as you come up past the roundabout, and you've got the taxi rank adjacent to the station, that might be something we'd be looking at.
So closing from where the boulevard meets Churchill along towards the taxis?
Potentially.
Including the taxis?
Well, the taxis could be relocated.
Yeah.
It's where you relocate them to, and yeah. The issue is, well, we're constrained because we've got Burwood, and so anything that we're pushing to the Burwood side, we have to negotiate with Burwood.
I guess, yeah, if that's a footpath straight into a, nice area entrance, that's
Yeah.
much better than crossing the taxi rank.
Yeah.
So seamless, the vision would
Come
be...
out and be in the square.
a
Yeah,
seamless,
exactly.
you come out of the station and you've got a seamless square, very much like the square you've got down at Customs House. So you come out at Customs House, you've got the Carl Expressway, and you've got that square in front of Customs House. It's seamless into the quay.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
It'd be great to close that road.
Anything else, councillors, that you
Well,
want to
just
see?
should we go
Can we
through the 5
connect
points?
from Stratoscare and the car park? There is a building like a smelly cheesecake and all these.
Yeah, so you've got
Working
3
out.
sites.
And expand?
Yeah, so just in terms of the square, going to that first point and continuing what the councillor's asking, I guess, what could happen? Again, we don't know what is being planned, but is that what you mean by expansion into those sites and into the council car park?
You can do that. That would be a very costly exercise. I think it's more about expansion north-south to the station and potential expansion to the east, along the boulevard.
Still will be
I think,
very
yeah, I
expensive.
think, I don't know about other councillors, but I think, the other way expansion is sort of what councillors, or like, yeah.
I think.
Bus runs,
pushing
stop
those
bus
buildings
runs,
out of the
then
way.
there will be a lot bigger square.
I mean, we already own basically the assets on either sides of those buildings. They're key to the expansion of, a serious expansion of the square. I think if we don't take that into consideration, it's very kind of cosmetic extensions that would take place. Okay, closing roads and whatnot, not cosmetic, but ultimately they would unlock a much larger area if those properties were councils.
So just, I mean, they're all interlinked, but just in relation to that point and the issue of the bus interchange, there are some challenges with the configuration of that, just in our initial discussions with transport, and also discussions that our consultant has had with transport in terms of how that interchange will work and what transport will support.
What would they not support?
They will support.
They will not support any reduction in the level of service and the level of movement of their buses within the town centre.
In other words, we wouldn't be able to put them out to Raw Square, for example.
Well, I mean, if that's something the councils want to provide input on, that's something we could go back and get a response to.
Like, we can't reduce the number of bus stops.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying we can't move
Move them, yeah. I mean, I think if they were to move to Raw Square, that'd be great.
People can go walk in
I think
the
that's like,
street.
on that note, like as I'm saying, in the past, there's like talk about expansion of the centre. Yeah, like that sort of pushing the buses out of the centre. If you push them out, but you didn't expand, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, a compromise could be, and notwithstanding the damages would have to parking availability, but a compromise could be using, if again, those key buildings in the middle of the square were not an issue, expanding the square into where the buses currently sit, I think it's the 483 or whatever it is, that where the ACU bus, not on Albert Road, but where it bends, if the bend was part of that expansion of the square and the route was rerouted through the car park, for example, that would be the exact same route with a few metres change, but you're going behind the buildings instead of around them. So the bus interchange would be at the car park. I mean,
So then, councillor, in terms of, because as I said, they're all intertwined, in terms of the council's vision for your car park,
Underground.
No, it's a road.
she said it. I think underground. I think,
Underground.
I mean, you could rip up the whole square and have underground parking below everything.
Stop bus.
I guess I don't want to be limited by any constraints in things like funding and things of a practical nature when thinking about the future and of Strathfield in our most important precinct. And so I won't shy away from saying how I really feel about it. I think you could do 2, 3, 4 stories underground of car parking underneath this entire area that council owns. And coming at a cost, obviously. But ultimately, I think that would be the right thing to do. That way you can activate what is really dead space in the current car park. You're providing more options in places where people can park their cars, directly below the action, if you will, and you're opening up significant space above ground that's very strategically important.
so yeah, I mean, they're the input, but there is a consideration.
Yeah.
And, the constraints, so the Strathfield Town Centre is flood affected, significantly flood affected is what the report that our sub-consultant has done in terms of that. So that's a consideration we need to have at the back of our mind in terms of what we're recommending. So that may impact the capability to go underground, and it's one of the issues we've already raised with the HDA, SSDA site on the corner of Churchill and the Boulevard, because they're proposing 6 levels of basement to support their development, and it's whether or not you can actually go down that deep in the town centre to facilitate that because of the constraints.
Is that affected land underneath?
The whole town centre, councillor, is flood affected, and Raw Square, at that point where you go under the railway bridge, is the most significant point in heavy rain where you're getting that restriction. So, we need to balance the outcomes with the constraints, because we don't want to deliver a master plan. And again, we've got to go through a state government process, and part of that process is looking at flood considerations. We don't want to go through a process where we're recommending outcomes that, because of those constraints, cannot be achieved.
Councillor Nosworth. Sorry, Councillor Nosworth.
Yeah, kind of a similar idea to kind of using that car park space maybe in a different way. Because it's a key site that may be developed in one way or another. Over in Burwood, there's, 2 levels of council car park and then parking for the shopping centre and whatever. So I'm wondering if there's scope there for saying, hey, we keep that parking in a building that gets put there, and maybe the owners of the buildings to the east, that can maybe become square. I don't know where the buses go, but so essentially we maintain the level of car parks we have within the new development. They have however many levels they need, and then the floor space they're allowed above that to make their money back. That's an idea I've had.
Yeah.
Alternatively, it could be the case that maybe, just using the Burwood example, a development where the plaza might be includes a future council car park within it.
Yes, and I have been involved in the past in negotiating those types of outcomes, and they're the types of community benefits. So we also need to understand what council wants delivered as community benefit, because then when we're talking to the developers, we can come back and say, we've identified X, Y, and Z, be delivered within the town centre. Can you deliver this for us? And I mean, again, the planning framework has restricted that to some extent. If you look at Burwood and where Burwood's council offices are, that was all negotiated through a planning agreement as part of the redevelopment of that site, where council got 2 levels, it got a library, it got some of the car parking, and we could do that under the previous planning framework. It's much more difficult now to negotiate those outcomes under the current planning framework because of the SSDA process and the HDA process.
I mean, I think I personally would be, if the only constraint to moving things was that car park, it's a chess piece I'm willing to lose in this game.
Napoleon sacrifice.
That's my personal opinion. Not ideal, and not an ideal outcome at all, but...
But in terms of a very dense, high value part of town, to be a single level car park and nothing else is probably not the highest and best use.
Exactly. Anyone else?
Right.
Okay, next one.
Next one's the bus, which we've kind of touched on.
Car park bus interchange, boulevard.
Now, on the boulevard, there are plenty of restaurants, some very good, some otherwise, and it's a rather wide pedestrian space. What would the scope, I mean, and this is probably more of a Kathy question than anyone, but To what degree could we potentially lose a little bit of street space to expand outdoor dining options in that precinct? Because I could envision across the boulevard from Churchill all the way to the intersection with Royal Square, outdoor dining being super successful.
So that is something we are talking to Burwood Council about. It will take Burwood Council's cooperation to do that in a way that's meaningful, because we really can't close off our side of the street, particularly now that we've got a SSDA development. But that is very much outcome identified through the key directions and the vision generally. And it's something that we're hoping to have included in the master plan. It's just how much further would council, like the vision aligns with what we're thinking, but is there anything else that the councillors would like to see along the boulevard? Because that is going to require the cooperation of Burwood Council to achieve. And I know very much that they have their own ideas for the boulevard and Wells Lane and that whole precinct behind the boulevard. You know, they're essentially wanting to turn their back on the centre and focus on Bells Lane. But we want to bring them into the centre because they are part of the centre. They're very much part of the centre. But it's how we get that cooperation and how we. You know, at the moment we're only talking to them and there's no decisions that have been made and they won't commit to anything. It'll all come through the master planning process when that master plan is put on exhibition. Because then we will have a formal submission from them. We can continue the dialogue with them. But at the end of the day, they don't have to agree.
Is it the case that we own to the midline of that road?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the boundary is the centre of the road.
Yeah.
So that's why you've got, you know, you've got Burwood Council parking meters on the Burwood side, and
What about the roundabout? Is the roundabout is also crossed halfway?
so it's halfway. So the car park that belongs to Transport at the end of the boulevard, that's on the Burwood Council side, and that's owned by Transport for New South Wales. The underpass is Transport for New South Wales, so neither Burwood or Strathfield controls that. And then, the boundary sort of does this dog leg at the end.
What's the prospect, you think, of closing that underpass altogether?
If that's something the councillors...
I just think it serves little purpose when, under the current Urpal system, you can tap into one side of the station and walk out the other and you're refunded immediately. I mean, you're not... There's no charge associated. Before you needed a ticket or whatever, it was a different time. I think that tunnel has caused social problems for a very long time and antisocial behaviour and activity. I don't know if it's required in our current context.
That's something the councillors want us to look at. I mean, that's something we can
I guess
look
as
at.
well, considering the Transport appears not to want to give up that car park.
No,
we can't.
comment on that.
It's for their staff.
When I met with,
yeah.
when Michael and I met with the Minister, he was very supportive of finding an alternate place for parking if that was an impediment to our vision for the square.
Because then you can open up the accessway. I don't know if it gives you enough passive surveillance, but it's better.
But again, sorry, councillor, that's Burwood Council.
Yeah.
So we could have a vision for that area, but that vision may never be realised because it's within the Burwood LGA. We can work with them to try and get the vision realised for that car park, and I think that's something we want to put on the table. But we just need to be very mindful that it takes cooperation and working closely with our neighbours. And that's the same to the northern side, because the northern side you've got Burwood and Canada Bay. So we're basically sandwiched by both our neighbours to get the overall vision realised.
I hate to sound too much like an optimist, but I don't perceive Burwood as being the equivalent of North Korea. I think the reason.
No, and yeah, we have been working with them, but at the end of the day, it'll come down to a political decision from their council to make, because, yeah, I mean, officers work closely, but at the end of the day, like, Strathfield Council has to endorse a draft master plan. Burwood Council will also have to endorse any changes that we want to see delivered in that master plan process. And I mean, that's something we can work with the Department of Planning on, in terms of if they push back, we could show that the benefit for the whole town centre is a positive benefit and get them to assist us in working with Burwood Council.
Just a question. We are planning for our master plan. What is Burwood's vision for their side of Boulevard?
So they have a vision for Bells Lane and for, essentially their vision is to activate and redevelop Bells Lane. And they've got funding under West Invest to do that. It's just not high on their priority list because their main priority is delivering the centre adjacent to their library. But they see obviously Burwood Town Centre and Burwood North as their key centres. They really don't have a relationship with Strathfield Town Centre.
Burwood North is in Canada Bay Council though, isn't it?
No.
Burwood North as in where the metro will be?
Yeah, so
But that's Canada.
most of it's within Burwood Council.
So Burwood goes over Parramatta Road.
No, the boundary is Parramatta Road.
So the
So
station's on the other side.
Burwood North goes from Westfield
Yeah.
right down to Parramatta Road. So that's the whole Burwood North precinct. And then there's a bit on the Canada Bay side, which is essentially the station precinct, is their part of Burwood North. But Burwood Council
Yeah. They call
is
that
the
Burwood.
main Burwood North precinct.
Is in the previous communications you had with Burwood Council, how well are they interested to integrate in our plan, or?
So at this stage, the officers are willing to work with council. And as I said, the officers are open to being part of this process, and they were involved in the charrette early on, and we've been working with them on separate components of the master plan. At the moment, we're working with them on this piece, the transport piece and the boulevard. But at the end of the day, you know, the officers could support the outcomes of the master plan, and when they present a report to council, the councillors may not support those same outcomes. So we're trying to work to get the endorsement at that next level. And I mean, they will make a submission. They made a submission on the key directions report. They were very positive in respect of what council's trying to achieve in relation to the key directions and those outcomes. So the high level vision, they're supportive of that. And like I said, the officers have been working closely. We have no problems working together as councils. We have a good relationship with Burwood, but we can't guarantee that we are going to get the support of the elected representatives with some of this work that we're doing. So we've got to have alternatives that look at that in case they decide they don't want to follow through on those outcomes.
Just in relation to when you say about community benefit, I think like no one's really touched on what they want to achieve, but I think community space in the town centre is critical. You know, for example, I've recently been to the Rhodes Recreation Centre, which I think is actually a really, really good outcome, and probably something that councillors maybe have a look at if they haven't been down there. But I think also community benefit as well, and I've said it for a long time, about council actually leveraging the land that we own and how we can benefit, and is there a way that council could own or control parts of commercial property, so then we have a bit more say about what sort of tenants and tenancies are in our town centre, because I think you can see what happened in COVID is, a lot of landlords just rented it to any person who was willing to pay rent, no matter how poorly the shops fitted out, just to have income coming in. So I just think if council actually has some form of control of some sort of commercial properties in the square, or surrounding the square, I think that is actually a good community benefit. Not only you've got income from, I'll just say about commercial, council actually leveraging our land to have commercial properties, could we actually have potential income, which, obviously help, so we don't have to go through an SRV process again and put up people's rates, but also it's like a long term, if we can actually own some assets down there that generate, not just like the nice public, when I say public benefit, it's great, something that's a nice, more enjoyable square, and community spaces, but also something that actually helps pay to keep up those community spaces.
And councillors, can I just ask a question in terms of the council car park site and its relationship to those adjoining site? Do you have any thoughts around whether that site should be consolidated, whether we should be looking at it as a site in isolation? So there's 3 sites on the corner, and then our site, and then you've got a site that's already been developed. So essentially,
Is it possible to bring up a map or something?
Yeah, there's maps somewhere.
I think if we go back maybe, so you've got a residential flat building to the west of council's car park site. You've got the 3 sites on the corner adjacent to the roadway, and then you've got council's car park site. So if those 3 sites on the corner were to come together and redevelop, council site would be landlocked. So just your thoughts around that?
Well, look, I think, just to be blunt, council probably should have acquired one of the properties because the neighbouring landowner has acquired it. So there is going to be probably one person trying to control stuff adjacent to our property. So I think, but also have our planners or have Hassel done feasibility on the unit block next door? Have they done feasibility if they're getting heights that are similar to Burwood Council? Have they done feasibility on whether it would be viable for someone to also consolidate those unit blocks?
So something we are looking at through the centre is what is the tipping point? So what is the point where a strata development that might have 50 units in it, what is the tipping point for it to be redeveloped? And it would, we are looking at that, and it would take, like I said, the master plan is a 20 to 30 year plan. So we need the vision to be 20 to 30 years. And it's not to say that those sites will never redevelop, because in my experience, you get a developer who will purchase 75% of a residential flat building and then has the opportunity to redevelop. So yes, we are looking at feasibility from the point of what's the tipping point to make those sites.
What is there's a restriction, there's a height restriction in the...
So the height restriction in the centre is based on the PANOP, which was the flight, the Commonwealth flight. So you've got 2 restrictions. You've got the obstacle limitation, the OSL, and that's state, so that relates to Sydney Airport and Badgerys Creek. And then you've got the PANOPS, which is the Commonwealth cap. Now you can exceed the obstacle limitation with approval from the airports. You generally can't exceed the PANOPS barrier. So the SSD development is going to the Panops, which is about 186 metres in the town centre.
Which one is that?
The corner of,
186.
That's the tallest building in Strathfield.
well, yeah, the HDA SSDA is
But
what.
can I just say, sorry, and I don't know if you know the answer, and I don't and look, it's still high. But is there not buildings in Burwood that are higher than that?
Not at that height.
Yeah. Okay. Did
There was an approval, so the approval for the site adjacent to council was at around, I think, 150. Yeah, so that's the site they've started construction on adjacent to
the railway.
council.
No, I think with the car park and the three, landlocking us, that's probably a great opportunity to go, hey, let's combine them together, put in however many stories you need of a leisure centre, and then go from there to kind of, if we own, I don't know what percentage that is of that site, then presumably we have a lot of,
We're the majority.
input to say, hey, we want this, want this, want this, and then that's it.
And what would the
Sell the rest or
councillors
whatever.
want to see, if that were an option, what would the councillors consider would require to be delivered?
My personal thoughts would be some sort of recreation thing is good. Not, I wouldn't say full blown, but like something similar to that, the one at Rhodes, that has the community spaces as well in there. I'd say that. Obviously car parking, I think we emphasise that on the key direction.
So just confirming, you're talking about the site where our car park is and the surrounding.
Yeah, like if they consolidated. I think, community space, I think somewhere.
A bus interchange.
People can actually hold, a bus interchange under it. A place where people can hold, conferences or things like that, which I think that the recreation centre has, the one at Rhodes has that sort of stuff there. Potentially like a not a full blown, but maybe like a mini library with study spaces or something like that. Where,
Theatre.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They've been
Theatres, culture.
And councillors, in terms of land uses, so obviously housing, but are there any other land uses that you would think would be appropriate in the centre? So I'm thinking more hotels, service departments.
I mean, I whilst I don't think this is necessary, I think if we do want a cultural hub to exist, I think having a pub or some sort of hotel there is part of that story. I think like a drinking venue or the ability to have them in the town centre would be worthwhile. I mean, this is all very premature because it's
But it's important.
but in what I'm envisioning is a lot of alfresco dining, drinking spots, et cetera, and whatever that looks like. I mean, whatever's above, I don't know, but certainly on the ground floor, that's very important in terms of what I think the activation of the space should look like.
I think it's probably just from a visual perspective. Like you would probably want. I would assume like the bottom levels have some sort of like controls about how they look. Whether it's to blend and not be a heritage look, but like to match up with some of the heritage stuff there. Some to not conflict with it. Yeah, and then obviously to have like. You don't want a building just like the ones on Parramatta Road where it's just straight up. Like you'd want like a podium, after a certain amount of levels. Like that, I think is important. Yeah.
And that's what goes in the podium, parking, leisure centre.
No, but yeah.
If we think of the people living in is apartment, small apartment, and people who need exercise for their health. So, but we have no enough green space and no parks. So people who live there are always complaining there is no walking course in the area where we can work. But if we cannot make it inside in indoor sports like Scotia Centre anything, swimming pool, something like that.
Just
They
on like
provide-
sports and recreation, on the Burwood side, admittedly, there is a massive tennis club. So I don't know if we.
Tennis club.
It's actually
Only
called,
one
it's called the
tennis club,
Strathfield
yeah,
Sports
yeah,
Club.
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's
Two soccer pitches.
Yeah, so I think
Something
there's
else.
enough of that at the town centre. I don't think we need to accommodate any more.
Very busy.
No, it's increasing our population. This tennis center is very hard to booking.
Yeah, it's very, very popular.
Very, very hard.
And even if you added 10 more tennis spots, courts, it would be very hard to book. So I don't.
That's why,
that's what our-
We have very limited space, so we can accommodate
Give them some opportunity.
needed.
Give them any sports, not only tennis, but something else. Indoor sports. Think about it. I don't know.
Just to go back to what Councillor Malali said about the outdoor dining and stuff like that. You know, that's another area where it's that section between on the boulevard between Redmire Road and Margaret Street. If you've been in around those buildings, they're terribly run down and really, really bad, and only they're only 4 stories. That one has such a wide frontage on it that's an area that could, if it actually had a bit of population there as well, and there was a bit of if that was considered as extension, as I'm saying, the old documents have that as part of the town centre as well. So having even along there, if that's an outdoor dining precinct, where you've actually, say I'll say maybe Majors Bay Road or something like that, where they've got the away from the show, they've got the footpath, and then away from it they've got the seating areas.
So councillor, can I just clarify that location?
So probably
It's the boulevard.
yeah, it's on the boulevard, but it's the part that's sort of a bit separated. So it's between Margaret and Redmire. Yeah. So that one, basically, you see a lot of the shops don't last there.
They don't.
Where that-
They're all going.
Right, Warwick Street.
It's where the Burmese food is.
No.
So
Left.
it's this section here, from here to here.
Yeah, so that
So-
group of shops.
Yeah.
And this footpath here is.
And it goes around this, yeah.
Well, there's empty.
Through here, there are restaurants.
So that adjacent to Meriden.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think as long if there's population if there's population in the town centre, the business is going to do well,
Yeah.
and then we're going to actually attract better businesses. And we haven't had
If you don't make a nice town center, they will go all somewhere else. Now at the moment, they go somewhere else, they don't stay here.
How many people you spoke to your community, and they're just handing over the lease for the property. They can't even sell their business.
Yeah. I think an important thing to note is also that very few Strathfield residents like going to Strathfield Town Centre. I think people much prefer some of the other shopping precincts in our area. If you need to go to a shopping centre that's larger, you'll go to Burwood Westfield. If you want a local coffee, you'll go to one of the many spots that's not in the town centre. People avoid the town centre at all costs. It's not a community-friendly space, and people think very low of it. And that's obviously it's a very metro important, significant train station, but that comes with some sort of frequent flyers who cause problems around the train station. So of an evening, there's lots of young people drinking and smoking and doing the wrong thing. There's people from out of town. There's so the environment and the characters around and the inaccessibility to parking and the traffic there during peak hour, it just makes it a very unattractive place for so many different reasons that are not necessarily all within our control. How do you attract people back? That's a really difficult question.
So how do you bring people back into the centre?
That's right, yes.
For me, that's what I'm saying. When you if they build new apartments, and we actually have standards in there, have strong DCP controls to actually have standards of size of apartments, standards of, maybe, if we're trying to, do you have, in the town centre we want more 3-bedroom apartments, or I don't know,
Yeah, even more. Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
to try to attract a different, rather than, and a lot of it's affected because of the Burwood side. the Russell Street, Morwick Street, Lion Street, those streets have a lot of the old walk-up units, which attract like transient tenants.
Yeah.
And they don't, whether it's for their socio-economic background or whatever it is, they don't spend money in the shops. Like they don't,
So what I'm hearing in terms of housing is dwelling mix is very important.
I'm trying to say
That mix.
really in a way without being offensive that, for example, like a very, very wealthy downsizer in Strathfield who wants to stay in the area,
We got a home push.
no, I'm saying if they want to downsize, they go to Breakfast Point.
Yeah.
So
But we want them to stay in Stratford.
what we want is, if you have decent quality apartments, like the Sandalwood building is probably the one that actually does, they've got very, very good quality apartments still, as long as it's like 25 years old or more. They do very well, and it has a different calibre of people buying those units. So, I think some of the downsides, maybe they want to buy like a 3-bedroom unit or a penthouse or something like that in the town centre, and then you hope that they're buying what they buy and what they enjoy, whether it's, better restaurants and better quality things. Those businesses would then come in because you've got the customers there.
Yeah, so it's that whole flow-on effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to...
Underground city. So God.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we cannot accommodate all the population there. $50 million house in Strathfield. How many we are ranking number 8 of this expensive area, Strathfield. Town centre cannot match that.
In terms of roads and constraints, obviously like Sandalwood has a big car park entryway there, so we've got to maintain their access to that. I don't really know what I'm asking. I guess how much road can we close before we run into another driveway entry that we can't go across?
Well, that's, So as part of our analysis, we've had to look at all of that. And, you've got state roads, so regional roads, which are controlled by the state, which we have no control over. We can only control local roads, so roads that we can control. And then, yes, you've got developments that might have access points loading. The other thing we're looking at is garbage trucks, because that's usually the last thing people think about. And then you might close a road and the garbage truck can't get up and turn around, so where do people... So all of those things we're looking at. It's just if there's anything particular that the councillors think we should be looking at, because there's all these different layers. And if we don't get the support, if it's a regional road that we're looking at changing configuration or generally we wouldn't close that, but it's very much comes down to Transport for New South Wales and how we can do that. And because, we've got the added constraint of Burwood on the boulevard, that becomes another...
Are we looking, Rita, sorry, just, like, for example, like, and I'm sure probably... Yeah, but just, like, let's say we look at it and say, okay, well, I don't know if it is true or not, but I'm saying, like, let's say Churchill Avenue, it works out better if you actually had, for example, a right turn there, and then the traffic could go the other way or something like that. Like, is that things that...
So we're looking at all the options. So our transport planner, our consultants, so Arup, are looking at the road network configuration and how that operates, and what changes could be made to facilitate the outcomes and the vision that councillors want. And then also in relation to the bus interchange and how those movements work. And, we can make suggestions. What we're hearing from Arup, our transport planners, is, we've made a number of suggestions to them to look at, and they've gone back and spoken to Transport, and Transport's just come back with a hard no. So whether or not, if we identify those options in the master plan, it's unlikely we will get support. So we're looking at options. Like I said, I don't want to deliver a master plan to council that is just going to be a document that sits on a shelf. I want it actually to be deliverable and for us to have the support of the government stakeholders.
So that's what I think that's, yeah, like for example, if you wanted to say, like let's say if we're talking about the buses went through the car park, for example, where's the powers, like where does the power like that's our road,
And it would take, we need to negotiate with Transport to get them to reconfigure the movement of those buses. Because they control the buses.
It's moving like
Yeah.
50 metres or whatever it is, yeah?
You'd think it would be.
But it's a whole lot of operational stuff, so, we could have an option that says that, but we've got to be sure that the buses can do the turn, that, there's a whole range of issues, it's not delaying time frames for the buses moving around. There's a whole lot of criteria that they work to that, would need to be considered with any option that we present.
What about garbage is being trucked is at night time, in the early morning they come, no one there?
No, but it's whether or not that garbage truck can do
Exception or
can
not?
do the turn. So for example, if the trucks are collecting along the boulevard, they're collecting from the street. If we close any part of the boulevard, where are those trucks, where are those shop owners going to put their bins out for the garbage truck to collect? And will the truck be able to come up and do that manoeuvre to turn?
They don't turn.
And go back up.
Narrow street, they go and go straight there, and all the garbage bins at the other side.
Yeah, I think that's,
they do.
I think so for new planning, they wouldn't want the garbage truck, for example,
On the street.
This might be just totally cosmetic, but what are the chances of having like cobblestone on the ground rather than asphalt?
Where's the Pyro Bailey?
That all relates to the urban design, the realm, so what the look and feel of the town centre.
North Strathfield, George Street.
Yeah, very narrow.
Take some hits from that.
I mean, we could include that as part of the implementation, that the vision is that outcome. And that then, so you have that vision in the master plan, that then is delivered in a public domain plan that comes as part of that suite of documents, the planning proposal, the contributions and the public domain plan. All of that. And we will need that because, in most cases it'll be council delivering, but in some cases it may be a developer delivering. So if a site's redeveloped, the expectation is they do their curb at the front of their development. We don't want them to just do anything. We want it to be delivered to the standard that our public domain plan and that council's endorsed.
Not wanting to prematurely wrap anything up, but just a question going way back to the beginning. This is about aligning visions and whatnot tonight. I might be wrong, but my take on things is that you're taking on a lot of what we're saying, but do you have a clear vision, not from us, but prior to going into tonight, did you have a clear vision of what things were starting to look like?
We have a vision, it's not clarified, and it's based on our discussions with the key stakeholders, our ongoing discussions with the council, and obviously the input that we've gotten from tonight will be considered. I must say most of it's aligning. At this stage, there are a few points that have been raised tonight that we'll have to go back and have a look at. But I think, we can comfortably say that if what I'm hearing is what the councillors are expecting, then we are very close.
Can I just ask, Rita, has Hassel, who's doing the planning work, have they actually provided council with a picture of, or a draft picture of what, getting close to a concept?
At this stage, no, we're still working on that, and that will be coming over the next couple of weeks. And that's what will be presented back to the councillors.
Can I have a question? I have a question. Because the boulevard there is, because if we want to make a really nice eating and dining restaurants in the boutique area of the boulevard, can we control the business sort? Like there is three grocery stores. These three grocery stores are destroying the atmosphere really. So we can control some areas only dining area, some areas the grocery shops somewhere. We can do it or not?
We have no control over who goes in there.
Grocery shops in middle of the restaurant, really rat and dirty trolleys.
The council, council has really tried to come down on a couple of those businesses.
They didn't have a good day.
Yeah.
I mean that we can control certain area restaurants.
Only if we own it.
Yeah, and also, like as was mentioned earlier, a lot of those tenants are legacy tenants from COVID who came in at a very cheap time, who won't be around forever.
Yeah, and I think with the revitalisation of the centre,
We cannot control, we cannot make it nice, particular.
new businesses coming into the centre, and those sites that will be redeveloped to a very high standard, because that's what we're pushing them to do. I think what that does is that then encourages other businesses, and it then pushes out those businesses that aren't as great, because the rents go up, they can't afford to pay the rents. I mean, it's very much a situation, and I know Burwood Road and what's happening on Burwood Road in Burwood Town Centre, and that's very much the case because you've got Chinatown, Burwood Chinatown as an anchor. What's that's done is pushed up the rents along Burwood Road, so it then pushes out and it brings in that next level. So we can't control it from a planning point of view, but the market generally controls it.
And we can control the display way, the way of display.
We can control how developments activate the street, and we, to an extent with compliance, can control, what's put out on the footpaths, what signage is put up in the windows. So we've got some control there, but in terms of the types of uses that go into those premises, we have no control.
I think once it gets expensive, grocery cannot afford to stay there.
It's a tipping point again. Yeah. Once the rents start to go up,
Still very expensive.
Depends how long the leases are, stuff like that. But I think probably a completely different topic, but I think councillors, just while everyone's in the room, would support extra compliance on businesses who aren't presenting themselves very well in the town centres.
Correct.
Maintaining hygiene standards.
Yeah, so having rats in their shop and putting up stickers on the window to cover them.
Yeah, minimum visibility should be like basic standards.
The corner of the boulevard and Redmire Road is a heritage conservation area. How is that playing into all this?
So we are, yeah.
Just as a caveat before you say anything, I think that's a beautiful site that ought to be maintained.
So it is a heritage conservation area. There's no intention to get rid of that heritage conservation area. So any redevelopment of those sites, I mean, generally what would happen with a redevelopment in a town centre of such sites is facades would be retained, and then redevelopment would happen to the rear of those sites. So you may get a portion of that building retained, not the whole building, because it's how that conservation area presents to the street that's important.
Which I think it's a great thing, but for me the redevelopment is conditional on the restoration of the heritage as well. Because I think at the moment they're just painted over and it's...
Yeah, and the problem, councillor, with that particular corner is those sites are fragmented. So it would take them all coming together and possibly coming together as part of Strathfield Plaza redevelopment in the future for it to be worth their while. We can't force them to do that.
Yeah, just on that, I feel tying it to the plaza, is concerning, because if the plaza just doesn't do anything, which is what they seem to do, it kind of like locks that up too, yeah? So I don't know if there's an option, I don't know if there's an option of like that separate or combined as something else, whatever. My thing is not about the buildings, literally just the facades.
You cannot control them, even the regulation for the facade, how they get the make it on this.
We can, we can. The problem is, Councillor Kim, that, like, for example, that one on the corner, there's been historical people just have done the wrong thing, and I think probably they've been let to get away with a lot of things. So then other shops do the same thing. You know, for me, I don't understand how, like, the shops that are in there now, I actually don't understand how they've been approved, or if they are approved in heritage area.
Now, archives, street, people are sleeping there.
$2 snack shop.
Rita, would you like to take a seat and answer if you want to? Because you've been standing for a while. Is that okay?
Yeah,
You can sit and answer whenever you like. Are you sure?
yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
It's like just filibustering.
Thank you.
That's right.
This is really important things we are discussing.
I might, if the councillors want me to start wrapping up with the end slides,
Do
or
you
was
want us
there
to
any
start
more?
wrapping up? Or?
No, if there was any more discussion, I can move to the next part of the presentation, which is basically just giving you an overview of the next steps. So, like I mentioned before, the master plan is essentially stage 1 of a stage 2 process. So we're at the point where, you know, we're trying to pull together the draft master plan to present that to councillors. Councillors will have an opportunity then to elect whether or not they support the draft master plan, and we go on exhibition. So the draft master plan has to be exhibited. We have to go out to the community and seek community feedback on it. That will then be a process that we identify as part of the master plan report, and as I said, it'll be accompanied with a engagement strategy that sits alongside that outlines the key engagement activities that we will propose to take. We go through a process, we consider all submissions, so we accept submissions, we consider those submissions. Now at that point, there may be some submissions where we have to go back and review components of the master plan. In my experience, that happens particularly around the planning framework, because what this does is that we hope for it to draw out the landowners and for them to come to us and basically tell us, yes, this will work, or no, this won't work, and it won't work for these reasons. So then we bring back the master plan post-exhibition. That may be a different iteration of what we went on exhibition with. Council will then be able to make a decision whether we go back out on public exhibition, or they may just endorse the proposed changes. And then once we have an endorsed master plan, we then move on to the next stage, which is implementation. So that in itself is a whole other process, and it's a process that will run concurrently with the different components of the implementation phase. But this phase is very much reliant on the state government and getting state government support for those things that we raise in the master plan, particularly the changes to the planning framework. Because if we don't get the support from the state government moving forward with the planning proposal, then that's where the implementation phase stops. So we don't want to have that situation where we get to a point and the state government doesn't support it, which is why there will be a lot of engagement undertaken as part of the exhibition of the master plan. And that's not just with the Department of Planning and Transport for New South Wales, it's any other key stakeholder that we think is important as part of that process.
It's just, we don't want to be too unrealistic, or we're not gonna say we don't want a master plan. It'll always be amendments and changes and being involved in the process, in the vision, so that we are all seeing the same picture. But thank you very much for taking down all our suggestions on board. Hopefully we'll have a better and brief report next time.
And thank you, councillors, for your input.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rita.
Thanks, councillor.
And to our silent observers.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Scott.
We would go to the motion.
Not yet.
Sorry, mate.
Guys will go on adjournment for 5 minutes so that David can catch all the points, and we'll come back. Welcome back, councillors. Councillors, now I will move the officer's recommendation for this report with the amendment of point 1 of the recommendation as follows, which you can see on your screens. The list input provided by councillors be considered by council officers and the master plan consultants in the finalization of the draft Strathfield Town Centre master plan. Now, I put the motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
Do you move it for a second?
Sorry guys, I'll move the motion. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Baladi. And all those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried out unanimously. Now we'll move to the next one. EO1. Response to Council Resolutions 57/26, Strathfield Infrastructure Renewal and Maintenance, page 54 on your agenda. Now I would like to ask Kathy Edwards to address us, present the Council's report.
Good evening, councillors. I'm going to talk to you tonight about infrastructure renewal and maintenance in Strathfield. The purpose of this presentation is to update you on the current maintenance service levels to respond to the March Council resolution regarding a Strathfield beautification program, and then to look at some options for additional capital work projects and maintenance service levels. So this was the March Council resolution. It spoke to having a high presentation standard, looking at a Strathfield beautification program, seeking submissions from councillors and the community, and with the purpose of ensuring that people travelling through the area can see an uplift in the area. So one of the council resolutions was that we seek councillor and community engagement. So the purpose of this report really is to seek that feedback. Throughout the presentation, I have put some options into the presentation. These are by no means definitive, so you may choose to proceed with all, some or none of those options, and you may have suggestions for others. And then when council has resolved which way they want to move, then we can place those on public exhibition. In terms of current maintenance service levels for cleansing, street sweeping in residential areas is done every 3 weeks. Street sweeping in town centres is done daily, so that's sending the street sweeper along the footpaths and the road, and then staff hand litter pick in the afternoons. High pressure cleaning in town centres is currently undertaken quarterly, and then Bin Street furniture cleaning is undertaken 3 times per week. In terms of civil works, potholes are fixed within 48 hours once we know about them, and footpath trip hazards are made safe within 48 hours. In terms of waste, abandoned shopping trolleys are currently reported to the supermarket. Dump waste is generally collected on the day it's reported or the next day. Dead animals are picked up as reported, and graffiti is treated as reported and offensive within 24 hours. For landscaping, verge mowing, every 3 weeks we currently service 47 residents. So these are residents who are elderly or have mobility issues. Roundabout landscaping is undertaken fortnightly. Weed maintenance of roundabouts and traffic facilities in the town centres is monthly. Residential areas, we don't have a strict schedule, but it's around quarterly. Town centre landscaping maintenance is fortnightly, park mowing fortnightly, and riverbed maintenance monthly. So some of the recent improvements, we have purchased a new high pressure cleaner, which it's actually hot and it's much better service than the previous outdated equipment. Street sweeping's been brought in-house at a cheaper rate, and it does allow us, if we have problem locations, we're better able to direct that team to go address particular issues as they arise. We've also purchased a stormwater inductor truck. So council's never had one of these previously, so this allows us to clean the pits more regularly, and particularly where we know that there's localised flooding issues, it allows us to address those. And we've commenced a white goods service from July 2025. So this is what the stormwater inductor can achieve. So you can see the pits on the left, very full of leaf litter, and on the right it's been cleared. So that will help prevent localised flooding. And similarly with these photos. And this is the high pressure cleaning. You can see from those photos, you can see the line where the high pressure cleaner's been versus the dirty pavers. And in terms of waste management, we're really working with the strata bodies. So the photo on the top left, that's how they used to present bins at this particular location, and the bottom right, our team's been working with the strata managers to make sure that the bins are being closed. This is really important. One, it just means the wind's not going to sweep rubbish all over the place, but also it helps prevent ibises from attacking that rubbish. So this is starting to address the March Council resolution. So it asks to identify key corridors. Now those are the key corridors that staff have identified. It's based on high traffic volume streets, but we're very much seeking feedback from the councillors and community as to which streets they think are the key corridors. So certainly not suggesting that we've got that 100% right, we're seeking feedback. Gateways, we have 6 gateways actual signs. As you would know, we have already replaced 3 of them. The other 3 will be replaced this financial year. And then
The
sandstone sign.
Stone sign.
What's going on?
I didn't see Royal Square, Strasbourg. I never see all the time go and go. I don't
But
see
that one's already been removed, the Royal Square one.
Do you have
Yes,
still
it
there?
was. It was in poor condition and it was really blocking the footpath. So there's a new one going in, slightly different location, closer to the rail bridge.
Is it too late to alter what they look like?
Yes, they've been made.
Oh, so, yeah, very good.
So like they've literally
Same
been
style,
manufactured, that we
square.
just haven't installed
So-
them yet. These are the high
Sorry.
visibility.
I think, I don't know if it's changing any wording on it, is that what
Is
you're...
it too late to change the wording on them?
I would have to check. So they have physically been made. They're sitting in a warehouse somewhere. I don't know how the wording's attached to the physical sign. Yeah.
Thank you.
How much it cost? One stone. How much each cost?
I have to take that on notice. I
It's
can't
not
remember off the
that-
top of my head. So
Strap
it's
is
not-
south, the corridor, one side bold, one side strap is very comparison.
Yeah, the bird one.
The wood ones are
The overcompensation.
5 times.
Okay, high visibility zones, again, I've identified the town centres, but really happy to take feedback from councillors in the community. And then I started to look at what are some options for how we can undertake additional maintenance. So this is about enhancing the visual amenity. So again, these are options, I'm seeking feedback. So in terms of cleansing, we could offer a more frequent high pressure cleaning within the town centres. So rather than quarterly, moving to a monthly service. And then I've identified the resources that would take, both in terms of staff and additional equipment. If that team were appointed, they could also more frequently clean the street furniture. Another potential option is that council could look to appoint a town centre caretaker or something of that description. So this could be one or more people who just physically are there each day, identify any issues that may arise, and make sure that they're managed appropriately. Civil works, we could have a dedicated asphalt crew with a truck to make sure that we're addressing those potholes even more frequently than we currently do. Currently line marking's quite reactive. We could look to purchase a new line marking machine and make sure that we're doing that line marking more regularly every 3 years. There is new technology for identifying defects, so AI technology for identifying defects, so looking to purchase cameras that would go onto our compactors. So rather than relying on residents or staff telling us about a pothole, the camera would identify it and self-report it.
Where is the camera located?
We would put it on our garbage trucks. So the garbage trucks obviously drive every street each week.
Oh, good.
So the idea would be it's in every street every week. So staff have also received some feedback that the painting on some of the traffic islands looks a bit tired. At the moment, that's done in a quite reactive way, approximately every 10 years. We could put on a temporary crew just for 1 year and basically repaint all of the islands.
Do you need every year to painting?
No, it doesn't need it every year, but at the moment the islands are quite tired, some of them, so it would be really just bringing it up to the current standard, and then we would look to phase it over probably 5 years. We could have a dedicated shopping trolley crew who pick up the shopping trolleys rather than just reporting to them to the supermarkets. Similarly, we could have a dedicated dump waste crew. This would require an additional compactor, and that crew would also be responsible for collecting dead animals as they're reported, or as our AI camera picks them up.
Do you know that now the Strawberry Shopping Centre,
Yes.
no more we can take it out trolley. Trolley is stopping us.
Good.
Yeah, because before the
Trolleys are getting stopped.
Oh, okay.
trolleys
Yeah.
before in our car park,
The technology goes along.
I was mistaken, but now trolleys automatically brake.
You noticed that the
You
other
can bring out.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So maybe you can save money.
This is one.
Also collection.
Council, these are all options. I'm not necessarily suggesting we do one or all of them. These are just some options for maintenance that you may want to consider.
Yeah, think about that.
So in terms of landscaping, verge mowing, as I said, we currently service 47 residents only. So there's two options here. We could look to do the high profile streets, where those streets that I mentioned earlier, and that would be at a cost of 45,000 plus 165 per annum. Or alternatively, we could look to do all of our verges. Now this is a very expensive service, as you can see from the dollars there. Some of the other things we could look at is doing the landscaping and weed maintenance on our roundabouts and traffic islands more frequently. We could also look at doing the town centre landscaping maintenance more frequently, so going from fortnightly to weekly. We could look at doing park mowing additional services, particularly in the summer and spring periods where we get bigger growth. We could improve our riverbed maintenance from monthly to fortnightly. And then one of the recommendations that was in the March resolution was to look at some feature plantings. So if we were to proceed with that, it's absolutely fine. We would need an additional crew just to look after the maintenance of that. So that's what that is. So in terms of verge mowing option 2, which is mowing all verges, I don't recommend it. Happy to take feedback. It is a high cost option, which is not currently funded. we know that we'll never deliver the service to the level that most residents expect and that they currently provide for themselves. There are seasonal resource impacts, so we'd need more staff in summer and spring. We know that very few councils in Metro Sydney offer this service, but for those councils that do offer it, it's a source of high complaint. So to address the March Council resolution, Council's landscape architect has recommended some planting options. So a mixture of natives and exotics to make sure we get flowering at all times of the year and to be resilient to pests and damages. So these are some of the natives that are recommended, and these are some of the exotics that are recommended. So they're in that list. In terms of enhanced tree canopy, we currently spend $100,000 per annum. That gives us approximately 120 trees, just depends what size we plant.
So that's new trees per year.
New trees, yep. We're currently, this financial year, working on a street tree master plan. The purpose of that is really to look at each street individually, look at where we plant plants, and what species are recommended for particular locations. So the purpose of that really is to look at some of the constraints and how we work around those constraints. So we obviously have overhead power lines, but we have in-ground services, and making sure we're getting a mixture of species. So that will be presented to Council in due course. So an option obviously for enhanced tree canopy is to fund additional tree planting over and above the current $100,000 per annum. So the March Council resolution did ask us to look at public domain upgrades. So I wanted to run through obviously some of the ones we're already working on, and then some possible additional things we can work on. So we've just had a very detailed presentation about Strathfield Town Centre Master Plan. But Paul's team's also working on public domain upgrades within the villages, so Homebush West and Strathfield South. We've got some site-specific public domain upgrades occurring. So as you know, 28 Parramatta Road was purchased about a year ago, and we currently have a master plan on public exhibition. That'll be coming back to council, and if it's endorsed, we'll be looking to start to undertake some of those embellishments from next financial year. The recreation and wellness strategy talks to both, I guess, indoor facilities, but also how we accommodate recreation in open space and within our streets. So it does talk to public domain as well. The Homebush Movement and Place Connectivity and Streetscape Upgrade Project. This is, as you know, we've delivered stage 1. Stages 2 to 5 are currently being designed, and it also incorporates streetscape upgrades, landscaping and public artwork on Parramatta Road. We've recently undertaken some paving renewal at Strathfield South, and also some landscaping. We're currently designing something similar for what we're calling internally the Broadway Local Centre. So that's the intersection of the Boulevard and Liverpool Road. Banner poles, we've installed a small number of these to date, and over the next, so we'll be installing more this financial year and more next year. Overall, there's about 40 odd locations that have been selected to install these banners. We've recently installed street furniture stickers. Now the purpose of these is really to give each different local area its own sort of characteristics and to reflect the individual characteristics of that village.
Probably not the obvious.
Paul's team ran a Strathfield Summer Sounds program last Christmas, which was very well received. And these are some of the additional things that we could consider. So the draft budget for next year has developer contributions looking at Parramatta Road upgrades, including trees and landscaping, Beta Bay active recreation pathways, lighting and landscaping, plus LATM and PAMP recommendations. So that's local area traffic management and pedestrian access and mobility plan recommendations. So they're about ensuring we have the right traffic environment for safety and about ensuring we have appropriate pedestrian access. But it also, when we put those in, we also look to do landscaping and things associated with it. So if you look at the intersection of the new roundabout at Chalmers, we also put in quite a bit of landscaping to help support that outcome. Another thing we could look to do, the current developer contributions plan is quite outdated, and possibly some of the projects identified in there are no longer relevant. So we could look to update this, and then we have a good amount of money that will help inform future works within the Strathfield area. So we could also look to do paving renewal upgrades in Homebush and Homebush West. Both of these areas had paving upgrades fairly recently. Pavers generally last about 20 years, but in these sort of main street areas with high pedestrian traffic, it's not uncommon for council to choose to renew these areas more frequently than the 20 years. So we could look to do some paving renewal works in Homebush and Homebush West. So Paul's team has applied for a grant, the Permit Plug Play Program grant, and this is about providing relatively cost-effective interventions in main street areas to try and bring vibrancies. So they're looking at doing that in Homebush West and somewhere else.
Strathfield Town Centre.
Strathfield Town Centre. So put in relatively cost-effective infrastructure, but also look to work with businesses and other people to see if we can bring small events and things like that to the town centres. I guess when we're talking about all of this, I do also need to talk about diesel costs. So, as we know, the Middle East conflict has led to increases in our fuel costs. We're currently using about 21,000 litres of diesel a month, and our annual costs, previously we were spending about 375,000 a year. We think next year that's probably going to rise to about 965,000. So a substantial impact on the budget. Just in terms of what are some options for how we could, I guess, cost recover that. I'm certainly not suggesting we do this tomorrow, but just some examples. If we were to reduce, say, parks mowing from fortnightly to every 4 weeks, we'd save about $653,000. If we were to stop the household collection, that's about $549,000 per annum, including $480,000 in ticketing costs.
Sorry, is the household collection, you want to reduce it or like stop it, really? Because we have 3 per year.
It's 3 per household per year.
So you want to do...
You could reduce this. My only concern, if we were to reduce this or pause it, is we might see then an increase in illegal dumping. So it might be a false economy to stop this service. But it's still something to consider. So that's what I had in the report, which you've got a copy of. If it's of use to the councillors, I can look to provide you, I guess, with a couple of options. So option A, I'm calling targeted beautification uplift. So it's the more modest option. And that would be some of the services we do and the associated costs. Option B is more enhanced, so it includes everything in option A and then a few more services, but obviously costs a bit more money. And then option C is basically everything I've identified in the report, which I would suggest is cost prohibitive. So if it's of use to the councillors, I'm more than happy to do this type of analysis for you. depending on which way you want to go. In terms of financial implications, the operations team currently has a budget of 13.3 million. That excludes waste, excludes domestic waste. Next year's capital works budget's $40.7 million. The additional maintenance that we've identified, or the options we've identified in the report, are currently below the line. So if we do want to implement any of those, we may have to look at reducing or reprioritising other non-statutory services, possibly looking at a town centre levy, looking at reduction in footpath and road renewals, seeing if we want to look at increasing parking meter income, and then possibly an additional SRV. Again, all of those are just options for further discussion. So in terms of recommendations, we're obviously seeking submissions from both councillors and the community, particularly around capital works projects, maintenance services, and what should be prioritised, and that any of those things that are prioritised, that they be considered through the 26-27 budget process. So happy to take questions.
For the Virgin mowing, $210,000 cost for elderly people or mobility issues. Are they economically very volatile people, or they have enough income?
It's not means tested, so we do ask that they provide a level of indication from a doctor or whoever's appropriate that they are not able to physically do it themselves. We also do check that they don't get a garden maintenance of their own property and then just want us to do their verge. So if they're already getting a gardener to do their house, we ask that they do the verge as well.
Because Strathfield, the Burgee area, the corner houses are very expensive areas. And also kind of balancing equal opportunity, equal treatment. Maybe we can charge them a little bit of maybe more levy. Because we're doing for them because immobility and elderly.
A lot of them is elderly, or?
Yeah.
No? They're poor?
A lot of them is like old pensioner, something like that.
Pensioners?
Yeah, like old retired people, pensioner.
So they might be asset rich but cash poor, we don't know.
I don't consider you.
Maybe the house worth 5 million.
So I think it's every year 47 household we are merging and it's not equal for the resident.
And so council, I can't remember if I said we also check annually if they're still there and they still need help from council.
It's a goodwill service.
For 47 people.
Yep. Yeah.
Not so much money, but still we can add up something, a special service for them. Why all the time people charge?
If they can afford, they're going to have their own person cut the grass.
Saving us, huh?
They don't care because it's outside of the house. They don't care, that's it. Their mentality. I think so. I don't know.
So councillors, I offered you quite a lot of options tonight. Did you want to sort of, I guess, indicate any priorities now, or obviously you can do it at the council meeting?
It's
There was
many options.
saving was so much savings. We could stop household.
No, we're not.
Reduce, no stopping. Reduce. What about reduce? By 3 times we can reduce 2 or 1 for
A lot
temporarily.
of people doesn't use it.
Temporarily.
Exactly.
For the pickup.
Yeah.
David, can you go back a couple of slides? I think this needs a new battery.
I think we can't like.
Half of them don't use it.
Keep going. Oh, try now.
Half of the people don't use it.
Oh, there we go, thank you.
What did they say?
Many people don't use it, so going down to 1, it's not going to make a big difference.
And then maybe people dump instead of put on the front of their house, maybe they put something dump in the street.
And you go pick it up anyway, right?
I'm not guilty of that at all.
Sorry, what?
Well, the only way is just good enough how to put huge savings there.
How to book it?
No, but like,
No, we always.
if you actually got something that's decent,
How long will
Yeah,
it
people,
last?
other people pick it up on the way, yeah.
Yeah, true.
People in crisis, how long will it last, do you think?
That's what I was going to say.
I think the traffic islands, the verge mowing currently we're doing, and the targeted roundabouts and or corners or entries or whatever we're talking about.
Maybe option, oh no,
I think that option, yeah.
the cheap.
But at least with the traffic island thing, yeah, there's a cost there, but it's only a cost. It's like a lot of that is a cost that's right now, and it's not like an ongoing change.
I think Councillor Kim makes a good point, like how worried are we about diesel costs and...
I'm not that worried.
No, they'll be over soon. I think
We'll have a nice clean town square.
I think for me, in particular, like that idea of people driving through Strathfield knowing and seeing the difference as a contrast to surrounding areas, particularly thinking of places like Liverpool Road and Parramatta Road, both of which have stretches in Strathfield. There are very few parts of those roads in Strathfield that are any different to any surrounding areas. Like it's hard to drive through the Strathfield part of Parramatta Road, for example, and think, oh, this is different, this is nicer. Whereas I think if we were to do a lot more tree planting, for example, on Parramatta Road, which I hope that might manifest, or be possible, that would go a long way in just having a different character as you pass through Strathfield and knowing that this is nicer than where I've come from or wherever I'm going. I think outside the military building on the corner of Underwood Road and Parramatta Road, they've got about 5 or 6 trees planted outside, and just that little tiny precinct feels a little bit nicer. It's not that visible, but the building that's, I don't know, 8 or 9 or whatever stories tall is blocked by tall trees that were planted, presuming 20 odd years ago it was built. So I think that just brings uplift to the area when there is a greenification of the major roads. And it also gets rid of some of the visual pollution of just apartment blocks everywhere by having trees.
Yep.
This is more of a question. There's a section between Columbia Lane and Station Street, somewhere in that precinct. Oh, actually, between Columbia Lane and just outside, I guess, 28 Parramatta Road, that precinct there. There's been works, signage, cones around for ages and ages. What's happening there?
I think, I would have to double check. So Transport is upgrading the footpaths along Parramatta Road, and as part of that, we're also installing some public art. So I believe it's probably Transport doing the
I think they hit a water hole somewhere that flooded, and it fixed the immediate problem, and they need to go back in and...
Yeah, right.
Because I remember asking about it a while ago,
Yeah.
There is a particular flooding issue on Parramatta Road at 28 Parramatta Road.
Yeah.
I think the verge mowing, I think maybe I'm in agreement with Councillor Kim. Most residents can do it themselves. I guess maybe not all are, and maybe that's a communication piece rather than a go and do it piece. Like they're not going to repaint our roundabouts, like that's...
Yeah.
Whereas our residents can mow their verge.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Councillors,
But some residents can't mow their verges.
Except for the 47 we've got that,
councillors, as per the code of meeting practice, if we are crossing 10:30, we need to pass a motion. Are we going to decide in next 5 minutes, or do you want to pass a motion to extend the time till 11?
We'll finish.
I think we've got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll do it in 5 minutes. Come on, let's go, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, done.
Otherwise she hammers us.
You better all vote.
Okay, guys, we have 4. Which options? We'll come back.
Do we have to have the options tonight?
We don't have to decide tonight.
No, you don't. So this is really about just starting a conversation. So we're seeking feedback.
Guys, if you're not
This is the last motion.
yeah, in 4 minutes, if we don't finish, we come back tomorrow.
Need to close as well, yeah?
Okay, what's,
Extend.
So we extend. So we want to extend and... Yeah.
okay, we'll move a motion to extend the time till 11.
Oh, wait. Okay, fine.
11 p.m. and I move it. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Blackmore, and everybody in favour?
We have to extend.
Oh, no.
We're wasting precious minutes.
Karen, would you like to
She should put her
extend
hand
the
up.
time
She
for
already
the...
put her hand.
Oh, you put... No,
Oh,
you
there's
don't
no-
want to?
oh,
You want to come back tomorrow? Okay, all good.
No,
Okay.
there's no need,
Tomorrow?
there's
In
no need to
favour,
come back tomorrow.
Sandy, Councillor Reddy, Councillor Blackmore, and Councillor Nosworthy, and all against?
Quickly,
Councillor Kim, Councillor Beladi, and Councillor Pennsylvania. I've got the casting vote, and I'll vote in favour to extend it now, and yeah, and the motion is carried.
Can we move straight to the vote on this, which is...
Yeah, let's vote.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's vote.
We have to do that then. Okay, good. Okay.
We have to vote on this at the council meeting,
Exactly, so...
Okay, so what,
so we could wrap this up now.
let me quickly.
Why not decide it now?
We're about to wrap it up.
There's options.
if she didn't close the meeting on time, we're going to come back tomorrow.
No, you've
That's why we extended it.
Yeah, it's just safer. That way,
Councillors, are we changing the,
yeah.
councillors, Councillor Beladi? We have an officer's recommendation for this report. Does anyone want to move that recommendation as a motion?
What's the
Or anyone want
recommendation?
to discuss anything or move your own amendment?
The recommendation is the choice of A,
Councillor
B, C.
Nosworthy?
I'm happy to move it.
Okay.
참 답답하네.
Councillor, moved by Councillor Nosworthy, seconded by Councillor Blackmore, and all in favour, can you please raise your hands?
What are we voting on?
On the recommendations.
What, yeah, okay.
We've received the report. We'll talk about it in 2 weeks.
Could consult.
Okay.
Okay. All in favour, carried unanimously. No. Thank you, councillors. There's been no further business. I declare the meeting closed and the time being 10:29.